right-hand side yet again. Yes, he's trying to pressure out the solo lane. We saw him do it in game 1 and a little bit in game 2. His goal is to kind of just pressure out Snowflake. Terra.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Brian Codex out here soloing Alfredo, the support, taking down the ADC. That's gotta be a clip that we throw somewhere, man. That was absolutely bonkers. Alfredo not feel the global ult, but she's here despite that. And we might see Apollo able to come as well. He does the final basic as Kairos tries to finish it off with the dash, but Fuzzy Clay did this, but regardless, it will be a Primal Fury going the way of Fuzzy and the Wuzzies, and now over 10,000 gold up before 20 minutes into the game, and it wants to be even more. Orden trying to chase out Kairos. It will be some peel, but
Fuzzy
joining in on the ultimate, gonna force out the ultimate from Kairos as well, and he might just get away, but it forces to dash into a rough spot. Raijin dashes as well, trying to get damage from the Taiko Drum, so gets taken out before he can get more than one shot off, but Alfredo finding himself a double kill, looking for the triple. Fafnir low, triple kill coming out from Alfredo. He's going to look for the Quadra, getting low here, trying to find it onto the Artemis, but Double Mumble doing a great job of zoning him out and gets the dash to finish off the kill. Soul still alive, wants to put more damage into this Sobek, and he might be able to finish it off, and he does. 4 members fall from Going Ghost, only 3 members on the side of Fuzzy and the Wuzzies, and I gotta say, it
That's all of their ults? Yeah.
Oh.
Huge! Oh my god!
Huge.
Yeah,
Oh,
let's
bro.
go! My goodness.
Room. Did you knock up?
I have it in 1.
Nah. Damn. If we were all right, we could do gold. I just killed Matt too.
Kill the Bacchus.
Bacchus, easier kill.
Coming over. Nice job.
He jumped.
Yeah,
Nope.
he jumped around me.
Yeah, we don't have anyone else coming. He's gone.
Just
We can leave and go.
quick.
Good shit.
Oh, just supports carrying games.
On me, baby, on me! You really thought you could obtain this amount of God-given talent? It's already too late to run, just give me the penta! You can thank me later? Nah, you can thank me now. Somebody's gonna end up calling the police if this cyberbullying...
And I think that'll be it for the team fight. They're gonna try and back away and get away with their lives here after all said and done.
That was a very tentatively played fight, but it's not over yet!
What are you doing there? What are you doing there, Rack Attack?
I'm glad you said it, because I was thinking the exact same thing. It's object permanence. Hey.
That kill, but now it's the Gold Fury started up again.
It's being pulled, it's being leashed. Ragnarok is used, pulling him further away. And Alien Nation going to pick it up. All members of Dismay instead put their attention onto Demise, and the Gold Fury became free. For the other team, still not there, rolling forward. They want to guarantee the fall to get the trade. They do. Weezer's found a second kill of this fight. Radical finds the third one onto Vibe, and it's all onto Blizzato to try and get away with this time. Doesn't have his crystals available yet, and Weezer gets a double kill in the end. That's an overall 4 for 1, and it looks like the Gold Fury as well.
Massive turn for Alien Nation taking that team fight, and we... And welcome in, Smite fans, to Week 3 AGL Vikings Division. And today, the first match of the day, we have the Wash versus Purple Pandas. I'm really excited for this match. My name is Frog. I'm joined today by Argent Surge. Argent, how you doing?
I got some refreshments. I got some water, got some apple juice. I am, as I believe the kids call, big chillin', and I'm ready to see some teams from my own division actually go up against each other today.
Well, you'll certainly be learning some of the inside strategies as you get to watch this one from the outside perspective. But I think we're ready here to jump right into picks and bans, and I couldn't be more excited to just jump right in, especially after some of the picks and bans that we saw yesterday during some of these matches. I'm not sure if you get a chance to catch those sets, but we saw some unorthodox picks definitely come out and have a huge effect. And it was really something that caught my eye was the prevalence of these guardians in the solo lane.
Yeah, with a lot of recent nerfs really impacting the starter items like Warrior's Axe and the Fighter's Mask that a lot of solo laners are going nowadays. A lot of the warrior picks are starting to fall off, along with the main two. And when you think about the past 3 years, the main two warriors that have been the top, King Arthur and Kukulin, they've also seen some direct nerfs, and that's been leading to a rise in some of the other guardian picks just by kind of just all the other warriors going down. Ardio and Cerberus being the main two to really rise up. Ardio being the biggest one, just because the amount of CC that she's getting.
And we do see that Ardio and Cerberus both targeted during this ban phase. Purple Pandas pair that with the Artemis and the Gilgamesh, top hunter, top jungle right now, and the Tiamat and Odin being banned out by the Watch. And they didn't waste any time at all locking in this Athena, a heavily prioritized pick at this level, oftentimes seen in the support role, but some flex potential as well.
Yeah, a few months ago, she saw a really big spike in play. And though that's kind of fallen off, maybe some people thought it was more of just a flavor of the week type of thing. She still has very strong presence with her global ultimate, her super long, I think is over 2 second long taunt that when she gets that leveled up to max, she just brings so much to team fights.
Yeah, definitely having an impact. And one thing I'm looking for from the Athena team composition is really confirmed damage to hit off of that Athena taunt. Something like a Scylla or like a Thoth or a Raijin. Something that has that instant damage to guarantee value off of that Athena taunt. But we'll see what they go with for their next two picks on Purple Pandas. For now, we have the first two picks out of the wash. They chose to go with their mid and their ADC. Persephone recently allowed back in the league, seeing some play for the first time in a while. She saw bans yesterday, but no play, I believe, in our first set of the day. But Rama, one of these top hunters that have really come towards the top of the meta, I think closely behind this Artemis that was banned.
Yeah, Ram and Artemis are kind of the top two ADCs currently. And the thing is about the Artemis is that she is number one just because she wins the matchup against the Rom. As soon as you ban the Artemis, you're risking the players like the Watch immediately taking the Rom, and suddenly they have the second best, now top best pick for ADC that isn't really contested, except potentially as Purple Pandas are responding with the Izanami, who offers some split push to counter the Rom rotational ability.
Now, Izanami, that other god that you think of when you think of shooting through the entire wave. Rama has to use an ability for that. Izanami does not to get that damage on the entire wave. So both definitely high in that lane pressure area, but this Kali hovered for a while and finally locked in. An interesting pick, and especially interesting towards this top three. I'm not sure they had to prioritize this Kali as really as they did.
Kali is an interesting pick where if you're confident in your jungler to hyper carry, she has a massive impact and can almost hard carry these team fights with her ultimate, making her immune to death and also potentially getting her to reset her health bar if she kills her target. However, picking it up top three offers a lot of counterplay to the Wash, who still have 3 picks left, who might, honestly, they can just dedicate themselves to shutting down auto attack characters like the Kali and by part the Izanami, and suddenly a lot of your DPS is going to be hurting.
Well, they do choose to pick up the Yamoja in that third slot, likely going towards that support role. So we now have the two duo lanes locked in for Purple Pandas and the Wash. Who do you think gets the edge in this matchup?
Yamoja and Rama have a really strong lane clear, and just based off the fact that Yamoja can get her abilities out more often and it seems to normally have more impact and damage, I give the benefit of the doubt to the Wash here. I think they have the edge going up against the Izanami Athena, at least wave 1, maybe wave 2. But as soon as Athena gets her dash taunt combo down, they're going to have to start playing a little bit further back and start playing carefully.
No, I absolutely agree. And we do see some of the bans coming out here. Second phase bans, 2 mages coming out for the Wash, Raijin and Morgan the Fae. I would say kind of surprised we saw no mages prioritized in the top 3 for the Purple Pandas. Those 2 mages being incredibly strong right now. And 2 jungle picks, or I guess Osiris could go either way, but they choose to ban the Fender and the Osiris. I'm a little surprised they haven't chosen to ban out the Serket, a notable counter into the Kali.
Serket is a counter into Kali, but at the same time can be a counter into the Yamoja or characters that can banish themselves from fights like the Rom. If you manage to get a Serket ultimate down on the Rom, say if you put her in support and have the Athena go solo, that team comp can still work out. So leaving that option open for Purple Pandas, I'm not against. But the Washed here, without picking their jungler and banning out 2 of the other top junglers, is very much narrowing down their picks, as currently they're having their Erlong Shen.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they want to head in that direction, instead towards this Erlong Shen. And this second auto attack character can't makes me think of Fafnir, although maybe for the other side. He was a support that we saw near the top of the meta for quite a while. Haven't seen him as often. He's still on the board if Athena does want to go towards that solo lane with 2 auto attack characters on the board for Izanami and Kali, but we see another Guardian instead. This Scylla gets locked in, and this Jing Chen being hovered, likely going to be locked in for the solo lane.
I really like the Xing Chen pickup if they lock it in here. His one ability, I believe, is Ferocious Roar, takes away damage from auto attack characters. So picking that into an auto attack heavy comp with the Erlong Shen and the Rom is a very strong look for your team fight. And the Scylla, I mean, we were looking for some type of follow-up burst damage off the Athena taunt. Scylla brings that in spades. If she can get even a crush or a second off in these late game team fights, you can easily lose a carry or 2 if you're not careful.
No, absolutely. And something else that Jing Chen brings is that large CC ultimate, right? Able to burn some beads with that Whirlwind of Rage and Steel to potentially set up for the taunt for Athena, or the other way around. But regardless, having 2 critical CC abilities like that when you're trying to set up for this Scylla and set up for team fights is maybe we will see some Magi's cloaks coming out from the side of the Wash. But we do see their last pick finally coming in here. It'll be 2 Guardians for both sides, as this Cabrakan is the final locked in for the Wash. And just like we talked about early on in the draft, it's 2 Guardians for the solo laners.
Yeah, I honestly really think that the Washed here going into their comp is going to be very dependent on how well they can separate these team fights. The Emoji can put up her walls with River's Rebuke, and that can really separate. The Cabrakan has his ultimate that also adds walls. And if Persephone uses her Grasp of Death well timed and well placed, even though everyone except for the Athena can currently escape these walls with their movement abilities, if they're crippled by the Persephone ultimate, they're stuck in there. They can't escape. And that's really going to need to be where the Wash take their advantages.
No, I completely agree. I think we've definitely gotten a chance to talk about all these picks at least once. I'm wondering your final thoughts as we go into the game here. Which draft are you favoring more heavily?
I think the Washed has the better looking comp, but also the higher execution comp, whereas Purple Pandas has a lot more of a brawling style going on. So if the Wash can execute it at a high level and stay disciplined, they definitely have the advantage. But Purple Pandas can make fights extended, make them waste their abilities, then they can definitely come in with their brawling comp and make some impact.
Well, we'll see who takes the edge in this game 1 as we're going to jump right into the action. Frog and Argent Surge bring you the action once again in this game. And we'll take a quick look at the builds before any action gets going towards the game. Is there anything that pops out to you? I think the first thing that pops out to me is these 2 auto attack based junglers starting off with different auto attack based tier 1 items.
Yeah, Stone Cunning received a recent nerf, and that was the go-to first item, not starting item, for these auto-attack junglers. But with those nerfs, it's become a bit more niche as to who really wants to build them. Erlong can still definitely benefit from them, as he is a warrior and has those innate tanking stats, and Stone King just kind of amplifies it even to a lesser degree now, but still amplification. whereas Kali likely going to go right into the Ichevol, and the Ichevol offering a lot of early powers. You see a lot of early action in the dual lane.
Fantastic Riptide pulling Muscle Shark back, getting low. Pandas in the rain needs 2 more basics to finish it off. That's 1, that's 2.
Ooh.
Gets first blood over in the dual lane. In a little bit of trouble as he tries to escape here, but great secure there on the first blood from Purple Pandas.
You know what?
From the Wash.
You know what caused that first blood to go their way there? The fact that Rom hit 2 and Izanami was still level 1. That movement speed with boots being removed adds just a tiny bit of a higher movement speed for the Rom over the Izanami. Allows him to get within auto range to finish her off there.
Yeah, he does get the wave clear as you predicted on the desk, getting a little bit of an advantage in that wave. Allows him to hit level 2 early, and we might see a similar early kill over here in this solo lane as Crow wants to do some damage onto Horrific, but unable to finish off the kill. And we did talk about a little bit of these Guardians individually, I think, in this solo lane, but maybe not the matchup specifically. As we just saw Jing Chen use his knockup to cancel one of Kabrakan's primary wave clear abilities in that third ability. Do you think that gives Jing Chen the edge here as Bilbo gets taken out in the 2v1 in mid, so another kill going towards the Wash, but we can still return to that question as we're going to get even more action over in the solo lane. Kali on a gank, taking down Crow, so now Horrific has the advantage whether he was going to get it or not.
I think that's definitely a really good play for Purple Pandas to do. They just lose their mid laner. Immediately getting a return kill in solo lane helps even the gold lead that the Wash has already begin to accumulate down a little bit. But into the matchup of the Xing Chen versus the Kabrakan, if Xing Chen can use his knockup carefully and time it for the Kabrakan wave clear, then he will definitely have the advantage in the lane. But when it comes to pure brawling capabilities, Kabrakan has him beat in spades, so he's going to need the Xing Chen's going to need a little bit of supplementary support from the Kali to really have any kill pressure here.
Absolutely, and we do see that successful over on the solo side as we do see a 1,000 gold lead accumulating early on here for the Washed, maybe as a result of those 2 kills, also as a result of maybe possibly some more efficient farming across the map as we see a 1-level lead still in the ADC role, but nowhere else in the map. Everybody kind of slowing down towards this early game. We saw those 3 early kills in 3 minutes, but we might have to wait for these next buff invades to see where either of these teams are going to focus. And I know you talked about a little bit how liking the focus around the solo lane, maybe Kali continues to help that Xing Chen over there in the solo lane. Do you think that the Wash should try to directly counter that and put their pressure also in the solo lane, try and win the 2v2, or maybe the Erlang Shen should focus somewhere else?
The Erlang has already ganked mid once and put her down. Getting Persephone an early lead will only benefit you. Keeping Scylla down will only benefit you in the long run. And when it comes to the duo side already got themselves a bit of a lead. And if you can go and push that even further, having a high-level ADC currently with the meta, with all their items being so cheap for them to build and getting online so early, making that happen even faster, especially with these crit builds, can really have the Rama make huge impacts in these mid-game team fights if he decides to rotate.
Well, we may see Erlang on a rotation in the dual lane here behind both members of the enemy team. Does have his ultimate available, trying to get that off, does get taunted, but he's going to have the taunt afterwards. Won't need it to finish off Labyrinth, though. Another kill going to Pandas in the rain. Early lead in this dual lane by 2 levels right now.
Yeah, keeping duo lane from having their ultimates is going to be pretty big if they decide to go for any buff invades. Making sure that Athena does not have her ultimate that can traverse anywhere across the map is going to be really big for them to keep their aggression up, as we see them actually already invading the purple buff. And I'm honestly kind of scared because Izanami, she can handle herself once she gets alone in lane, but if the ROM decides to play super aggressive and make sure that she doesn't get to farm, there's going to be a large detriment in the duo side.
No, absolutely. Definitely a character that can struggle from behind, and she certainly had a not great time of it thus far. And neither has Athena, like you said, still waiting to hit that 5th level and have that global ultimate available. And I'll note that that's the only global ultimate we have in the game right now. Rama has a semi-global ultimate just for that damage, but Athena truly able to join in anywhere on the map with that fight pressure. I mean, is there anywhere that you expect her, like for instance, I'll give you a for instance, a lot of times if you have a, well, hold hold on. Labyrinth actually in a little bit of trouble as Pandas in the rain dashing in, trying to take the 2v1. That shell gets popped and a little bit of damage exchange on both sides. Rama into the air. First snipe hit, second snipe on the mark, third looking for the invis dash. Muscle Shark unable to escape from Pandas in the rain, on target right now and continuing his dominance.
Honestly, I was really nervous when Pandas decided to roll towards the Izanami instead of continuing to plink away at the Athena. I thought that splitting up the damage there was going to lead him to getting no kills, but knowing the Izanami dash distance allows him to get that third shot directly on target as soon as she arrives, and that's just a really good patience from Pandas in the rain, baiting out the Izanami dash just so he can confirm the kill.
No, absolutely on target, and he's so far on fire in this game. I fully expect him to be the major component in an early Gold Fury fight, but so far we've seen Desto the Great also helping out in both of these lanes. That's the second time he's assisted with a kill in mid. He's helped over in this duo lane, so it's clear they're not concerned about this solo lane, and they'll come back to duo once again for the second purple invade in a row.
So I know we weren't able to see exactly what happened there to Rago's chicken in the mid lane, but based off of blink timers alone, I think that Kali blinked in on the Persephone, tried to get a kill. Desto blinked in right behind the Kali and immediately ulted. Ra doesn't have any beads, so he just immediately gets taunted and blown up by the Persephone Erlong there.
Yeah, that definitely looks like what happened to me as well, based on those relic timers. As we see Bilbo, the Scylla over here, sharing that blue buff XP, not wanting to fall too far behind in this mid lane. It looks like both teams maybe not as concerned about their solo laners until we get later towards the game, and that doesn't surprise me. I think the Guardians are really known for being able to be a few levels behind compared to the Warriors and still have a pretty major impact in these team fights.
Yeah, and especially with how the levels are looking right now, the XP department isn't exactly super spread except for the duo lane, but even those one extra level up on the Yemoja compared to the Athena, with how much damage output the Yemoja has, can be pretty impactful. But I think that these next team fights, as the Gold Fury is now spawned in, Pyro and Fire are going to be, Pyromancer more specifically, because I doubt anyone's going for a 10-minute Fire Giant. It's going to be spawning in about 2 minutes here. So now we're getting to the point where Purple Panda's team comp is really going to start to have to show itself. Can they make these team fights messy, or are they just going to lose to a very, so far, coordinated effort by the Washed?
No, and I'm absolutely looking towards that duo lane, towards Pandas in the rain specifically. Now a full item ahead of his counterpart in the Izanami, and continues to be 2 levels ahead. I think he's going to be a critical factor once we come towards this inevitable Gold Fury fight, but it might be Athena getting caught out before that happens. Stun comes in, trying to charge the dash, but not able to, as that Izanami ultimate gets forced out as well, but cannot save Labyrinth's life. They've been here for the purple buff now 4 times in a row. Athena not really paying attention to that or not respecting it. I'm not sure which one, but she loses her life for it.
Yeah, if you look, you see that Purple Pandas actually does have decent ward coverage on the Gold Fury side of the map, but just the pathing that the Wash took and the patience that they had to stand behind a rock knowing that this was going to happen. See some trades in the jungle being spread out here, but nothing coming for it. But yeah, just that patience to stand behind the rock and allow the Athena the Labyrinth to just walk into you and walk into your trap is a really good call and play from the Washed.
Absolutely. You saw them standing around those walls for an extended period of time, but it might be Kali jumping in on the Rama over here in the left lane, forced to roll away, and he's very low. Will get punished for maybe staying out a little bit too long, as Kali is forced to ult there, but a shutdown kill on the Rama is big.
Fortunately, Pandas finally got caught by his hubris there, and that's a lot of shutdown golden XP for the Kali, who has been struggling to stay even with this Erlong, who's honestly just on a tear right now. Desto doing amazing job spreading that pressure throughout the map, kind of letting Solo stay solo lane, do their own thing, but really putting his duo side and mid side ahead here. So getting that shutdown golden XP is really going to be beneficial to keeping Go's chicken in the game.
Absolutely, and you see him now same level as Desto the Great. He's caught up now, sharing that red buff as well. And something I don't typically note, but I've been sort of forced to take note of it in this map because of how many times it has happened, is some unorthodox sharing coming out specifically from Purple Pandas. And I feel like we've seen them triple split a couple buffs more times than we've seen other teams do in the past. Scylla shared that blue distinctively to get that XP, and it's perhaps something that they are really playing around, but now it's Crow in a little bit of trouble, forces that ultimate out. Desto is in range to help, but choosing to get the Pyromancer instead, and he will get that objective, but unfortunately trading out his solo laner's life for it.
Yeah, it looks like Crow is really trying to just distract and make sure Desto can get the Pyromancer, but I feel like there's a very large discrepancy with the call there as we see Pandas proxy farming the Izanami. I feel kind of bad for her. But that just... Oh, actually, hold on. There's a fight breaking out Duocide here now.
Ulting into Izanami, forcing Rama into the air. He has a crutch upon landing, but the Persephone ult comes out as well. Pandas had a half HP. I'm a monster! Only hitting one. Unfortunately missing onto Pandas, but he may get taken out just as a result. Radical under pressure. Rago's checking, able to finish off the Persephone, and all low members on both sides here, but it's going to be 4 members strong for Purple Pandas, trying to finish off Pandas in the rain. He will fall for his second death if he's not able to pick up a kill here, but he gets one, looking for the second, not able to get it. Odysseus is doing a lot of damage here, but it's going to be Callie trying to finish off this third kill here, and it will be 3 for 1 in favor of the Wash. It might be 2 for 1 though. Callie lazy backing under this tower, no ultimate available. It does have the ultimate available, gonna try and turn it around onto Desto, but forced to jump away right into Crow on the rotation. So does able to trade that out, force the Kali ultimate, go 2 for 3, but man, Pandas stayed alive for a long time there.
Yeah, Pandas barely snuck by the I'm a monster as we see Crow looking to hunt down the Athena and getting the kill there, making that trade even better for the Washed, but that did not start out great for them there as the fight kind of started exactly what we were talking about before with if Purple Pandas can make these fights messy, they are going to have the advantage. Washed was put in a 3v4 situation where their mid and their support and their ADC were completely spread away from each other. Rago's chicken getting the Persephone in a 1v1 and just eliminating her from the fight before it even started. Honestly, it's just more amazing that the Wash was able to get a trade before Pandas died, and then the rotation late from Desto and Krojiro really did help them make that a bit better.
Looks like they're now in position to take this gold fury, unless Scylla with the I'm a monster takes it away. Able to get out as well if Ram doesn't hit these snipes. Misses the first one, off target on the second and the third as well, but it's now Labyrinth. Pushed up a little bit, but Crow pushed up even farther, really trying to dive on these characters, and it might be Athena escaping. Good Riptide to try and follow that up, but it seemed like Crow was focused on a target for zoning, but wasn't aware of the Scylla coming in, and just a huge steal to keep Purple Pandas on track.
Yeah, I mean, when most people would go, well, what are you supposed to do? She's CC immune, she has the movement speed, you can't keep her out. But Krojiro had the ultimate up. If he positioned himself properly, he could have gone behind the Scylla, let her pass by, and then immediately wall her in, keep her from walking into range of the Gold Fury there. But without having that play, it's a pretty free secure for the Scylla for the steal.
They do pick that one up and will remain in a 2k lead. The Wash will remain in a 2k lead, that is, but Purple Pandas not falling any farther behind thanks to that Gold Fury steal. And we have seen one really all-out fight, right? We've seen a couple ganks here and there. It's mostly been, I think, the Wash having success with that. Desto's been everywhere in several of these fights, but the one fight that we've seen, the one proper fight, is Kali gets put into a little bit of trouble here, but not under any danger right now. But the one major fight we've seen was very messy and ended up being pretty even for both sides. I mean, what are you looking for on the side of the Wash to really clean that up? Who's their engage? Who has to be their damage? I mean, what needs to come out from their side?
I honestly think that Desto is their big shot caller and impact in these team fights. We see kind of a scrap starting here in Fire.
Under a little bit of trouble, but it might be Kali trying to be engaged on instead. Forced to pop the ultimate. Bilbo getting that I'm a monster, but Rago's chicken gets traded. I'm a monster does not hit on the second time around, but Killcam Kenny now in a little bit of trouble. Looks like Desto blinking in, getting the double taunt, putting some members under duress. Good speed pop to try and finish off Horrific here, and he's going to be in a little bit of trouble, able to dash away, but it might now be Labyrinth in the trouble as well, looking to opt around and cut him off. He does have the ultimate available if he wants to get away, but it's going to be Bilbo and Labyrinth both under some duress right now. Labyrinth turned around, being the one focused on, and he will get taken down, I think, inevitably here under the tower. But it will ultimately be, I think, a win for the Wash.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was just about to say. Desto being present for these fights is the big game changer for the Washed, as he has a lot of initiation. He has the blink taunt, he has the knockup, he just has so much CC that he can offer. Honestly, though Yamoja has a lot of CC herself in her kit, just having her be there to supplement the triangle in the back line is doing a lot of wonders for them, and just allowing Desto to really be the main setup and aggression. When he's not there, the Washed are struggling in these fights.
Absolutely agree, as we do see them pick up the Pyromancer, gaining or at least keeping their 2,000 gold lead at the moment, maybe extended to 2,500 or so at this point. But the next big objective on the map, we're now at the point where the Fire Giant can start to be talked about. Maybe not looked at quite yet, but definitely talked about. But we may see the Gold Fury respawn before anybody gets a chance to really have a proper Fire Giant dance. The last time this happened, it was Scylla walking in essentially for free, able to take that one right out from under the Wash, and I don't expect them to make that same mistake twice.
This is really going to be dependent on how Killcam Kenny uses his River's Rebuke ultimate around these objectives, as that is the biggest separator of these fights. And if the Scylla's going to try to steal, you have to try to make an aggressive River's Rebuke play where you either force her to use her only movement ability to get in there to try to steal, or you just have to force them to give it up and secure your own objective here. One thing I do want to note, though, was Desto the Great decided to go third item Ichaival. I can see a lot of where it's good. Again, Ichaival is still very much good for auto attack junglers, but choosing to go that item so late instead of getting something like Kin Size or potentially a pen item is a bit of a scratch of your head moment for me, at least, since he's showing a lot of impact in these fights. Why not just put on the Kin Size to do even more to these frontliners that you're hitting?
I tend to agree there. It doesn't actually get a ton of value on that item unless he's boxing the Collier or boxing in the Izanami, neither of which have been his primary targets up to this point in the game. But we will see 5 members grouped from the Wash towards this Gold Fury side. Both solo laners going to be here for this fight, but Purple Panda is going to be a little bit later to this. Trying to get top. Gold Fury being engaged on, shredded so fast from the Wash. Not in position are Purple Pandas to be able to contest that one, but a great ultimate from Crow, trying to come out the lockdown Labyrinth. Terrific steps in front to try and peel out his support, but both of them falling a little bit low right now. Labyrinth now in a spot behind 4 members, and he'll end up falling shortly, as will Horrific if he isn't able to get out of there successfully. Taunt back in will secure that. Good, I'm a monster over the wall. Almost able to get some big kills in there from Bilbo, but just out of the range of the damage. But Rao goes chicken, wants more, goes in, gets the first kill, still has the ultimate, gonna look for the trade onto Desto the Great. That's his target, wants the heal, not able to get it turned around on, and he will fall early on. Crow once more, trying to go in on Bilbo, does a little bit of damage, gonna force the dash out of Scylla, but that should be all for this engagement for now.
Krojiro having such a big impact with the tremors from the Kabrakan ability, that keeps a 4-man wipe from the Kali from happening. Keeping her just barely out of reach, swinging just barely too far to hit Desto to finish him off and get the second reset, make sure that they actually do come out of that fight on top. And again, where we were saying was Purple Pandas, that fight was messy again from the Wash. They started really good with the initiation. They got the Gold Fury on a really good call. Bilbo had just back, couldn't contest it at all. But they go a little bit too far. Athena's allowed to live way longer than she should, standing behind 4 members of the Wash. They try to chase down the Xing Chen. And while they do end up killing her after turning around, it allows them this counterplay. And Ragos Chicken is able to just dive in the back line while Killcam Kenny's pushed up to the duo side tier 2. And if they keep messing up here as the later and later the game goes, the more and more impact the Scylla and Kali are going to have, and they are going to have to be really careful here soon.
Now, in 10 minutes or so, even in 5 minutes, that Scylla ult is going to get a kill in that fight, and it might get a second, and it might get a third if they're allowed to just get in for free on the backline like that. To me, it really seems like Crow may have to rein himself back in a little bit. He seems to be really on the front line, wanting to engage, always wanting to push the envelope and make these fights a little bit harder than they maybe have to be for Purple Pandas. But while he's doing that, he ends up putting his teammates on the wash, sometimes in a little bit of a rough spot. So maybe pulling himself back there, or like you said earlier, relying a little bit more on Desto to be the one to make those engages, and Crow allowing him to follow up instead, may be the key for them to try and start making these fights a little bit more coordinated. But we do see 5 members focused onto Bilbo here. Forced into the I'm a Monster. Rama into the air, hits those ultimates, and falling very low will be secured by Crow. And it's now Labyrinth in a rough spot, trapped in the River's Rebuke, struggling to fall out, but won't be joined by his jungler in the mid lane. Not available for this fight, but Horrific gets turned around on, trying to peel for his support. Will do that successfully, but will trade his life for it as a result. And now it looks like the Washed have a play for the Fire Giant.
Yeah, that's just a really good pick by Crojiro there. I know we were saying just a minute ago about how he's looking a bit too aggressive there, but if he's catching a Scylla with no escape ability out in the jungle like that, pulling both her relics, pulling her ultimate, and still getting the kill, you can just take that every day of the week. And really good play by the Wash to get those 2 kills and then back up to the Fire Giant instead of trying to reset. Crojiro being sent back to make sure that the Kali split pushing doesn't end up claiming the middle Phoenix. It was a bit of a... It was also a really good call from Rago's Chicken to decide to split push instead of rotating. You know that Bilbo's going to die there. No one was in around to even come close to helping. You just have to get what you can across the map.
Yeah, I do tend to think that they needed to get something off that fight, and the tier 2 tower, you know, as opposed to getting 2 for 0, losing Fire Giant, you do get a tier 1 and a tier 2 tower, so still able to maintain pretty close in the gold lead, and only a 5,000 gold lead right now, give or take, and that's not something, it's definitely something to note, it's definitely something to be possibly a little bit concerned about, but at 22 minutes into the game, if it's less than 10,000 gold, I'm not worried about fighting back into it. I mean, I truly do think that they have a real opportunity to defend on these tier 2 towers, but only if they're real grouped up. And right now, Izanami isn't there, but neither is Desto. Rago's Chicken trying to engage Persephone, forces the piece early, but Rago's Chicken forced into the ult as well. Trying to get onto Hutch, but not able to unless towards the end of the fight, but he will get cleaned up as Hutch joins his team. And he will be saved right there as they get the tier 1 and the tier 2 tower in right. And now, it's a 4v3 over here in this right lane. We'll see if they choose to push the Phoenix, but they'll choose to do just that. I thought they were going to go towards the mid lane, but here we go. Pandas in the rain, getting some poke off Crow, blinking in. Bilbo already down to half HP, and it's now Horrific in the front line. Fantastic ultimate. Bringing Hutch in there, and he will be cleaned up. Muscle Shark now has joined the fight, but it's Crow once again just bringing out the damage onto the backline, able to pick up Bilbo, now looking for Muscle Shark. Pandas helps him out right there. 2 down in this fight, make that 3 as Horrific falls as well. Double kill for the ADC, and Desto will help finish it off. All 5 members fall for Purple Pandas.
That was insanely clean from the Washed, honestly, though they do lose Utch there at the start of that Titan fight, or sorry, Phoenix fight. I mean, she was able to survive. You get the pick on the Kali, and that just opens the door to push this Phoenix. And allowing Crojo to just walk in and put his entire kit on Scylla 3 times during that fight without anybody else coming close to helping, you have to be defending your mage here, especially since she's going to be the heavy hitter for you.
Absolutely, as we do see the Washed pick up that first game in our best of 3 series. I think a lot of positive things coming out from them. We saw some messy fights a little bit earlier on into the game, but ultimately it was Crow and Pandas in the rain for me making the difference on this team. Tons of damage coming out from both of those players as they're well above their teammates on those damage charts. What do you think the members of Pandas in the Rain, or excuse me, Purple Pandas, I'm mixing up the 2 pandas, but Purple Pandas might need to do in this game 2 to maybe bounce back?
I think maybe just looking for a slightly different composition for the next game could really benefit them. I feel like they went for something that they were specifically wanting to do with the Athena and Scylla, try to get the taunt and into the big burst damage. Izanami also can work into that. But the Kali and the Xingqian also works with that. But the Kali, is very much just a dive heavy character, isn't really good for that much setup, is very much dive oriented. While Akali found some success on the Washed with those dives and the late game team fights, Kali would go in, the entirety of the Wash would just back up and peel for whoever Rocco's chicken was trying to kill, and nobody else on his team could really help him because the rest of their team was just waiting for that setup to do their burst damage. So maybe a little bit changes with their jungle picks here, trying to be more of a facilitator instead of a hard carry.
Well, we'll see if they take that advice as we go to a quick break, and we'll be right back with game number 2. Welcome back, Smite fans. We're joined here in Game 2 of Vikings Division's Diamond Week 3. The Wash versus Purple Pandas. We just saw the Wash take game number 2, or game number 1, excuse me, now up 1-0 in the series. My name's Frog. I'm still joined by Argent Surge, and the first thing I want to talk about is the classic thing that you get to do after you lose a game. You get to choose the side that you want for picks and bans, and it looks like Purple Pandas have chosen to go for this perks first pick slot. Is that a decision that you agree with?
Well, they started last game on the first pick slot as well, being on the order side, and they chose to go for the Athena as their top pick last game. The Athena honestly didn't impress me. We didn't see any global presence from the ultimate that she offers. Not really much use of the taunt in a lot of these team fights. So my question now is, do they go in and look for something that's maybe more of a priority pick in their other roles? They allowed the Wash to get Persephone and Rom, and both those showed an immense impact, especially the Rom last game. So if I'm Purple Pandas, we ban the Artemis. That's a direct counter to Rom. If they don't ban it, we pick it up there.
Well, so far the bans are extremely similar from game number 1. In fact, the only change coming out will be that Hell ban from the Wash. If you recall, Artio was that ban in game number 1. It looks like Artio will be the first hover and possibly the first lock-in from Purple Pandas. We were looking at Rama. Maybe that would have been a good option if Artio was banned, but I mean, you talked about the prevalence that Artio has had in this solo lane. Maybe it'll give horrific on the Jing Chen last game a better ability to maybe fight in these team fights this time.
I'm going to make a bold claim right now. With the RDO lock for Purple Pandas, I think that they can go almost any composition they want, and I think that they have a higher chance of winning. The RDO has that much impact in the game. She is nigh unkillable. She has healing for herself to keep her topped up. She has CC for the entirety of the enemy team, can keep them in place, is overall just a big nuisance, and doesn't need to ever stop casting her abilities. And when you have all that wrapped into one character, if you can make the rotation on the RDO into these team fights, you just have the advantage by existing there. We do see Wash get Persephone and Yemoja, similar to last game. I think that Purple Pandas might just be able to counter pick if the Wash goes for the similar comp.
Similar to last game, indeed, although they choose that Yemoja in that second slot as opposed to that Rama in the second slot. So that Hunter will still be available, but a different first 3 picks out of Purple Pandas, all except perhaps for this Kali. I think that on this Kali definitely had some success there in game 1 when he was able to find his way into the backline, but I can't help but remember that last team fight where he really struggled to find his way onto the Persephone and ended up giving his team or giving away a pick as opposed to getting one instead. I mean, do you think that success will be benefited by now having the RDO in the front line?
I think having RDO's entire job in these team fights is just to run at the back line and beg them to try to kill her. So having that secondary target for the Wash to have to spread their attention to in these fights is really going to make the Kali have more impact. I think that looking into this, we mentioned at the end of last game, maybe they try to sub out the jungler for something that's more team fight oriented over dive oriented, or they can just adjust all the other picks to be more dive susceptible, or not dive susceptible, but dive oriented over team fight oriented. So that works just as effectively.
We do see the Ryzen as the mid lane pick from Purple Bandits, choosing to go towards that mid lane role instead of towards that ADC role in this top 3. And if you go, Ryzen was banned out in game number 1, so they do manage to pick that up for themselves. And now we see the bans coming through. Second phase bans, Ymir and Fafnir out of the Wash, 2 supports, and Fenrir and Erlong Shen this time, their jungler from last time. Desto the Great will not get to reprise his role on that one. Leaves Osiris up, however, to be picked, but that might not be what we see. We see this Jormungandr cover from the Wash, not a pick I've seen in a while.
Yeah, Yorm's got a recent buff. I mean, he's still not back to the state he was in when he was at his peak in the solo lane, though meta has shifted drastically since then, so it's more understandable. But he's a decently safe pick. He still offers a good clear and good presence. Into the RDO, it's probably going to be about even. But the big thing about Yorm is that he's going to be really hard to gank with his World Serpent ultimate that gets him across the map in mere seconds. I think that's going to be a really good look for the Washed to even have a potential early rotation into fights by the Jormungandr using that ult, or just allow him to be on his own, make some aggressive farming plays, and get out using the safety of his ultimate.
Speaking of hard to gank, we get the Jingwei hover here over on the side of Purple Pandas. A complete switch up in that dual lane as opposed to the Izanami, who's looking for the lane pressure, potentially looking for the fights. This Jingwei is a lot safer of a pick, and so is the Khepri. That adds potentially a third life for the Kali in some of these team fights. Do you like this switch up towards the dual lane?
I really like this pick up here. Jingwei, you don't need to babysit her. You don't need to make sure she's safe. She has every way of getting out of these fights as much as possible. She has a dash that can be used even if she's knocked up. Her ultimate gets her out of fights and over walls. I think that putting the ADC on a pick that can just farm and then exist in the back of team fights and fend for herself, while allowing Khepri to have the ultimate to either revive the Raijin in these team fights or revive one of the divers going on the back line. I really like this look because it really benefits the Kali and RDO dive and gives them a lot more backing than the last game.
Well, if we see this Thanatos hover, and that was the pick that immediately came to my mind when we were talking about that Khepri ultimate. Obviously, executes going through that Khepri ultimate, preventing it from getting its effect, and Thanatos bringing that execute. Although a different style of play than the Erlong Shen. A global ultimate for that instead of a more setup-based ultimate. A lot more of an early game character, potentially, than the Erlong Shen, although the Erlong Shen had no trouble getting involved early game in the last game. Looking at these two comps and knowing what you know going from game one, do you expect Purple Pandas to bounce back here, or do you think the Washed have it?
I really like the adjustments in the composition from Purple Pandas, and I think that they're going to be able to come into this game a lot stronger with a better idea in mind of how to play these fights. I think that they have a big advantage going against the Washed here, but if the Wash can get the Khepri, consistently gank him and kill him before he gets his ult online, or consistently do that afterwards to waste the ultimate and just keeping the support alive, they might be able to slow down Purple Panda's dive.
Well, we'll see how that plays out as we jump right into game number 2 here. Still Purple Pandas on the left side of your spectator UI, the Wash still on the right side, so we haven't changed sides there. Just changed some of the picks, and we do now confirm the Khepri over in the support role and the Emoji in the support role as well. I'm not sure there was any doubt of where those two Guardians were going to go, but with 4 Guardians, you can never be too careful. So, just making sure we check there. And an interesting strategy from Yamoja. I don't know if you caught that. She used her Riptide ability, starting off for that third ability, to hold the wave there in dual lane.
It's a very similar strategy to what Terra uses with her walls to delay the minions from clashing in the middle of the lane. This gives you an innate advantage going into the lane until the timers are changed on the buffs next patch. Right now, a lot of it is who gets to wave first, who gets that extra minion before a minion dies, and who hits level 2 faster. And making the minions have to come to your tower line to start clashing automatically gets you level 2 and gives you advantage. We see Rom taking advantage of that by rolling in.
Yep, Rama level 2, so is Killcam Kenny having the advantage in this fight over here, but looks like for Khepri and Jingwei don't really want to take that fight, just want to focus on perhaps clearing the wave right now as they'll be forced back under tower. We see a little bit of a scruff here in the mid lane as those two mid camps get traded out, and now Oracles will be secured by the Wash. But looks like we have seen pressure. I think that's pressure both in the mid lane and the dual lane so far.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to know is I really like the differential in builds here going from Purple Pandas. The double Vamp Shroud. Vamp Shroud, I mean, on RDO, that's part of what makes her so unkillable is that Vamp Shroud passive. But putting on the Raijin as well allows him to stay in lane, stay brawling a little bit longer, and gives him a little bit more defense against the Thanatos. He's currently making his way over to the solo side, but deciding better against it. And then in the jungle there, we see Kali going to Lightblade. This Khepri is getting low in the duo side.
Yeah, fights across the map here as we saw an almost gank over in the solo side. Labyrinth getting a little bit low over here as well. As the members of the Watch are also pretty low. Just a lot of damage being exchanged, but not a lot of it means anything quite yet as no kills have fallen for either side. And I believe at this point in the game, last game, we already had 3 kills on the board, so already we're starting off a little bit slower, but still maintaining pressure over in that dual lane. We'll see if we see any buff invades off the bat, and we will see Kali up at that blue buff on the right-hand side, trying to make that engage with the RDO, keeping that pressure and forcing Pro to choose potentially between his life and the blue buff, but he will definitely lose the blue buff, might lose his life as well if Rago's Chicken's able to do that extra damage, but not able to so far, and you see that extra base damage coming out from the buff recently onto Jormungandr, just doing a ton for punishing the Kali to jump in there, but they do successfully steal the blue buff.
Yeah, Thanatos now has a bit of a level lead with the invaders. Deduction of the XP and gold you get from invading, but I think getting the RDO ahead is a really good play from Purple Pandas here. Jormungandr, while we saw doing a bit of damage, isn't really going to have too much impact if he's even, much less if he's behind. So making sure that the RDO gets the advantage and can make those rotations while Jorm might stay to farm up a little bit is a really good look for Purple Pandas.
Something we actually see on the charts here on the left side of our screen is Persephone gaining a small XP lead off of that as well, as we saw Bilbo rotate over towards that solo side to help with the blue buff invade if there was help needed. The fight didn't end up breaking out, so he just lost a wave for it. Now, he has hit level 5 a little bit later than the Persephone, although both of them there now, and everybody there now, except for the dual lane, has that ultimate available. And similar to last game, we'll take a second to talk about the global ultimates in this game. You mentioned Jormungandr earlier, but it's now Desto the Great having a semi-global ultimate, and we saw that he did not need that global ultimate last game to impact the left and the mid lane, but it might be a fight in the dual lane breakout for the first blood here. Labyrinth in some trouble here, used an abduct and was trapped in the Ripper's Rebuke, but he might be able to get out without any or at least too much damage, as Pandas in the Rain falling low as well. Muscle Shark able to trade back some damage while that was happening, but no kills exchanged just yet.
Yeah, Ram had really low mana going into that fight. Could not use his 2 for that bit of an attack speed buff there, potentially helping out kill the Khepri. But as you were saying before, Desto the Great getting this semi-global ultimate with the Thanatos. One thing that a lot of Thanatos people or players that look at Thanatos don't understand is that the ultimate isn't just for the execute. Yes, it's likely going to be its major use here going against the Khepri, but the big thing with Thanatos is that offers the stun. It sets him up for the rest of his kit. And I know it's not as good as the CC from the Erlong Shen, but initiating these fights with a Thana ultimate onto a carrier, onto a front line in front of your triangle or mid laner could really start a fight in the favor of of the Washed if they're able to find those stuns.
And while we're talking about junglers, I think that's an easy transition to come look at this Kali build, which is starkly different from last game. Last game, she started out with the Ichevol, trying to maybe take some of those duels early, get that additional power, but this game looks like she's going to go for one of the items in that light blade tree. Do you have a thought on what it should be or a general opinion on this?
One thing I do know, as I do end up playing jungle myself, is that a lot of junglers don't really change up their starting builds too much. Yeah, they might change something halfway through the games. We see Rising getting caught out here at mid camps.
Bilbo, forced on the ultimate from Labyrinth, will be able to escape over that wall, and Desto not going into the ultimate to chase over. But I think you were pretty rudely interrupted there by Desto, so continue with your thoughts.
But yeah, so having the change in just the first items, definitely a unique thing that not a lot of junglers really go for. I'm not against it, though. Denying the Ichevol can hurt in the 1v1s against the ROM if that is your main target. But you have the Mannequins. Mannequins does similar thing to Ichevol by reducing the attack speed. It just doesn't give you as much power, as we see the two junglers now brawling it out.
Not able to get the damage that he wanted off before Desto is able to get into the air. Khepri may try and chase this, and if we catch Desto backing, it'll be a kill.
Pandas.
But it might be a kill onto Pandas in the Rain, right? Forced to roll forward, but not able to roll out of danger. Still falls, and Rago's Chicken didn't get a chance to secure that first blood on Desto, but able to pick it up on Pandas in the Rain.
I think that's just not having map awareness from Pandas there. I mean, Desto gets caught out right next to his lane, is forced to use the ultimate to escape, and Pandas decides to play aggressive towards the T1 tower. Every day of the week, the jungler's going to rotate and gank you there. I think you just have to be more aware of what your teammates are calling and looking at the map a bit more.
little bit of a misplay by him, but we see Rago's Chicken continue to take advantage of this positioning, able to steal that red buff away from the Wash, and potentially a better start from him as well. We saw him last game maybe struggling to keep up with Desto after Desto's 3 early kills on that Erlong Shen, but now it's Desto, unable to get any kills thus far. Kali getting the first blood, able to steal the blue buff early, steal the red buff right there, having a good start.
Yeah, a lot of people sleep on Kali's early game damage. They think of her only as a late game carry. Her early game, her flat abilities do a lot, especially with that lash there, as you see. The initial burst plus the tick damage as she gets the power buff off of her 3 can really deal a lot of damage to a lot of different characters on the team of the Washed. But going into a second Light Blade, I'm not sure what she's going to be building here.
Like it may be an Executioner, but it may be an Execution on to Bilbo as Desto unable to find that kill, and Kepriel gets forced out. They're both trapped in that Persephone ultimate, or at least by the tethers, but Labyrinth able to save his Raijin successfully, even if that ult doesn't get popped. And now Muscle Shark making an on-target play right there, able to secure the red buff and prevent the incoming invade by being there on time. Good play from him.
Yeah, and that just does show the weakness of having the Persephone early game. Not as strong as some other mages, as I mean, we see Killcam Kenny get an amazing ultimate, completely blocking Labyrinth from getting back to his tower line. That should be an easy kill any day of the week, or at least a setup for the XQ off the Thanatos, who was hovering, waiting for the Khepri to use his ultimate to save himself, but ultimately not needed, as the damage from Uch is just not going to be enough to really get the Khepri low enough for it yet.
Yeah, and Desto was a little bit off the mark on that ultimate as well, but we do see Rago's Chicken hovering over towards this left side of the map once again. He got this red buff invade the last time, and he's looking for it this time, but it's going to be a 1v3 off the bat. Khepri joins for a 2v3, and so does Pandas, always changing the numbers as Labyrinth finally able to get out of there. Low on mana. We'll see if some engage comes out on him, but choosing to let him be for the time being. And now might be the portion in the game where we really start talking about this Gold Fury fight incoming, as we see that ultimate come out from Pandas in the rain, trying to steal the purple buff. A little bit sneaky right there, but it's really this Gold Fury that's going to be the next major objective. And Killcam Kenny actually lazy backing right here, forced not to get that on the Riptide out of Omi at this point for that Riptide. Psycho Drums 2 coming out on him. He gets one final Riptide, but I'm not sure if he'll be able to get away, racing for some cooldowns on Rago's Chicken. Desto up into the air, trying to punish as they walk away here. He's in the air, he's going to be forced to engage. Lands on Rago's Chicken, forces the ultimate out of him as well, but it might be Desto being turned on as well. Gives a chance for the Khepri ultimate to come out, but Rago's Chicken stuck in a weird spot, not sure what to do, and gets taken out as a result. Good follow-up by Uch.
That was a very far extension by Purple Pandas, specifically on Rago's Chicken, trying to hunt down Kenny there. As soon as he gets to about his red buff, you should just turn in, honestly, just go for the Gold Fury. You know, Rom back. As soon as you chase out the Emoja, forced out all of her Omi, should be an easy gold call, but trying to get more of the kills for the advantage allows Desto to rotate in and make a really great play, and a lot of patience from Uch to wait for the Khepri revive to die out before killing.
River's Rebuke coming out here looking to steal the red buff, and they will successfully take that away as 4 members come in. Raijin now expending the dash, put himself in a little bit more trouble than maybe he bargained for. Desto blinking in, finishing that kill early on, and it'll be Labyrinth for the double kill, looking for Muscle Shark now, but he still has the Jingwei ultimate, able to get him out of danger, and nobody will be in range. It'll be a Gold Fury for the Wash.
Again, Pandas just kind of staying where they should be. Yes, it was their own red buff, but they knew that the Wash was chasing them from their overextension prior. Labyrinth having 0 mana to help out Bilbo there. He just has to watch in horror as Thanatos takes the life of his mid laner and then turns to take his life. And I think now we're starting to see where Purple Pandas, yes, they have potentially the advantage when it just comes to pure farming and pure fighting. But when the choices are being made that are worse than what the Wash shot calls are, that's what's really going to hurt them.
Absolutely. It was Raijin, I think, dashing in there that put himself in a little bit more danger than he bargained for, lacking vision. And talking about lacking vision, look at all those wards around that Gold Fury, those red wards towards that bottom side of the map. I mean, they were prepared for that Gold Fury, and that goes to show why Raijin felt a little bit safer dashing in there. He just didn't have any vision, did not know where any of the members of the enemy team were hiding, despite the fact that they were right around that wall. But now we will see 3 members grouping up towards this right side of the map, and the Pyromancer may be on the menu. Artio on the way from the solo lane. Has this objective falling down to half HP, and Desto taking a little bit of damage, but healed up from Kenny as Labyrinth now behind Crow. Not doing a ton of damage so far, and none of the carries are here, except for Raijin, who's choosing to go into the Taiko drums now. Kill Cam Kenny below half HP, and Rago's Chicken looking for the right target. Persephone ult finds the uprights and goes right onto Bilbo, and Crow trying to finish his kill with Dusto's in the air, but he chooses to go into Ra instead. Falling low, but that ultimate will keep him alive for the time being. Great time silence to finish off that kill, and it might be Kill Cam Kenny under the next target, but it will be Labyrinth instead. Crow gonna keep going, wants this kill onto Bilbo, but it might be Desto taking it instead. Long range sight, unable to be hit, but it will be Kill Cam Kenny falling for the other side of things. Right now it's 2 for 1 on both sides, and Horrific still in the right spot to take down Utz if he doesn't get his help in time. Running towards his teammates, and Crow's gonna try and clean him up and help him out. Desto with some damage coming out, falling low, both falling low, and it will be the trade kill. Horrific able to make that a 2 for 3 for his team.
Horrific was able to free cast that entire fight, and I don't know if you noticed with all the initiation going on in right camps there, but Desto, when he went up into his ultimate, was because he was forced up into it. Horrific was full health, almost 1v1ing and killing the Thanatos. Luckily, the rest of his team was able to get everyone else on Purple Pandas low enough for Desto to rotate in with the ultimate and make a big impact play, specifically on Rago's Chicken there. Not going for the hasten this time really hurt him in the chase down. They're trying to get Desto down. But that was just a really good reinitiation from the Wash, but we're starting to see Horrific when he's in these fights. He's making impacts. He got to kill the support and the mid laner. Yeah, he traded his life for it, but that's still definitely worth when the rest of that fight is, well, Wash.
Despite how much of an impact he had, though, you take a look at these XP leads, a 2-level lead in the solo lane and a 2-level lead in the jungle for the side of the Wash, despite this potential early good start that Rago's Chicken had. After that fight, especially by Desto the Great, he has had a significantly more of an impact than Rago's Chicken has been able to have, especially in these last couple of fights. The one saving grace compared to last game might be that Pandas in the Rain has not gotten off to nearly as good of a start as he did last game, but it might be Rago's Chicken now in a little bit of a trouble, once again forced to jump away. Still has the ultimate available if he needs to get that safety, but it's 4 members from each team grouping up on this right side of the map. Pyromancer looking to be the target soon enough. If members get taken out, Desto into the air looking for Bilbo. Able to find him, gets that damage off of Kepri ultimate, timed very well. Gonna save him for the time being. Bilbo wants to go back in, get that damage out, but Desto's not around for it, but Labyrinth may be. He's gonna fall early. Crow securing that one. Raijin into the Taiko drums, but not putting himself over the wall, not wanting to dash over there, and I think that's a smart choice, only using the ultimate, but it will be the Pyromancer and a kill for the Wash.
That was a bit of a head scratcher by Purple Pandas. They're deciding to try to pick up the Pyromancer. I'm assuming to bait a fight, but when the fight gets brought to them with Krojiro, everyone runs separate directions. Both Kepri and Horrific played forward to try to zone out the rest of the Washed, while Bilbo and Rago's Chickens turn and run separate directions. There needs to be some type of coordination going on with Purple Pandas in these fights, because a lot of them seem just very scattered and unfocused on who exactly they're trying to hit or what exactly they're trying to achieve.
We talked last game about how the messy fights definitely benefited Purple Pandas in their composition, but it might be the opposite in this game, as they are lacking a little bit of coordination in some of these areas. But their next chance to fix that is going to be this Gold Fury, spawning in just a few seconds. Going to be a Primal Fury, not as important as it could be at this stage of the game, as you're not going to be looking for Fire Giant maybe anytime soon, at least for the next 5 minutes or so. But we do see the solo laner on this side of the map. At least Crow, Artio won't be here as this fight starts, so it's going to be an advantage starting off for the Wash, and they've already picked up this objective. Falling low, 75% now to 50. Crow doing a good job of zoning, but Jingwei's in, nobody knows G's there. Trying to get the steal off, but not successfully able to force into that ultimate, but won't be a further chase by them unless Thanatos wants to get something else going. Into the air, focused on the carries, chooses to go on to Bilbo. forces both relics out of him, but it might be Labyrinth falling instead. Forced to ult himself, and now it's Horrific. Onto the backline, goes in 1v4, may have bitten off a little bit more than he can chew, but it's Raijin into the Taiko drums to try and help him out now, putting some damage onto Killcam Kenny.
Kali.
Instead, onto Muscle Shark. Kali in the backline, finding the first kill as engagement, still has the ultimate available, waiting for her cooldowns to find a member that he wants to go. Pops the ultimate, tries to get on the Killcam Kenny, able to get that reset as well. May find a big kill here as he can try and turn around on Pandas in the Rain, but Pandas in the Rain able to chase him down, get the double kill, looking for the triple kill onto Bilbo as well. Not able to secure those basics until he got some help, but a triple kill from Pandas in the Rain onto Purple Pandas.
Again, this was just a very scattered fight from Purple Pandas, and the Wash is able to do whatever they want there. Desto is able to dive onto the carries back at their T2, while Labyrinth was left completely alone on an island dealing with the rest of the Chaos side team. And there has to be some type of call whether or not everyone's falling back or everyone needs to go in together. It's just way too spread out. The second that Ardio and Kali go in together with the Khepri and Raijin supplementing them, Jingwei is going to do what Jingwei does. Run around, not die. That's kind of her deal. But if you can get those two pairs coordinated together, that is Purple Pandas into these fights. But right now, they're very separate, very scattered. And the Wash is taking huge advantage of that with the Jormungandr ult separating these fights just as effectively as Reverse Rebuke.
I can't help but compliment Crow on his continuous ability to get into the backline. Last game it was being done on the Bracken, this game being done on the Jormungandr, a little bit more of an unorthodox pick, and Desto continues to be able to join him. Contrary to last game where they were maybe having separate engagements, but they were just as effective alone, it's always Desto as well, maybe starting these engagements, using that global ultimate, as you said, for that engage potential, for that setup potential, as opposed to just as a counter to the Khepri ultimate. But we do see him once again put some damage into Bilbo here in that mid lane. Raijin gets forced back under the tower, but it's actually going to be fight in this dual lane to start instead. Pandas in the Rain jumping in or rolling in onto Jingwei as she stays in the air right there, and that ultimate will finish it off, but now he's stuck in a hard place. Kali, excuse me, trying to finish that off, but it will be Desto with the peel. He does get the damage on Pandas in the Rain, so it might have gone too quickly, and Charago's Chicken will get that double kill.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to lose the 1v1 if you're Muscle Shark there. Pandas in the Rain has Rage now completely stacked to full, and he has the patience to hold his ultimate. You already know he has that. The difference in build here is that Pandas decided to go Aussie instead of the Odibo second here, giving him a little bit of extra flap hit, a little bit of extra lifesteal, along with the mannequins, which just benefits him into the trade. Really good reinitiation by Rago's Chicken there, managing to get the tick damage down Pandas to get the kill, to get the reset. Or sorry, onto Desto to get the reset to then kill Pandas. But overall, I think that now that the Hasten Fatalis is online for Rago's Chicken, this Kali is going to be a lot more scary since you don't have as much CC to keep her down as you did last game.
She's gone from 1 and 2 to 5 and 3 now in this game. Remember when she was 2 levels behind just a little bit ago? Well, now she's a level ahead of Desto after those 2 pickups in the left lane, and she just helped take down that tier 2 tower as well. Purple Pandas are absolutely far from done fighting into this game. They still have very much of a shot to have an impact in these team fights. And this Pyromancer should get taken down relatively for free, but that's not what we'll say about the Fire Giant. Likely the next big objective on the map that these teams are going to focus around. And as opposed to the last fight where Horrific may have been a little bit late on this Ardio to join that fight over by the Gold Fury, both solo laners should have an equal chance to impact this one.
Yeah, and with this true 5v5 hopefully going to happen here soon, we're going to see where we're going to have to see some damage coming out from Purple Panda's backline, because the Raijin and the Jingwei haven't made nearly any impact in any of these fights, and until they do so, they're going to have to be depending on Rago's Chicken to carry a lot of the weight.
They engage on Desto, and he gets picked up before he can get into that ultimate. Rago's Chicken still has his own ultimate to save his life if he needs to real quickly. He does pop that one, looking for Uch, does get the bees out there, but gets the ultimate forced as well, and at the end of that, it does get picked up, but it's now Taiko Drums getting that damage off, and both carries fall for the side of the Wash, and it's now just the 2 tanks left. up on the map, and Purple Pandas finally take the advantage and win a fight.
Rago's Chicken forces a lot out of the Wash. Just his presence, his ability to chase, he makes them use a lot of ultimates just to try to kill him, and eventually do kill him, but he brings down the Persephone to very low health, and that allows the rest of his team and their backline to come in and get some kills, like I was just saying before. Now that these impacts are starting to happen with the Jingwei and the Raijin, these fights are going to start to even out and hopefully turn the way of the Pandas if they're going to make any push for this game.
They do start up the Fire Giant here. Labyrinth tanking this one. Bilbo and Muscle Shark will be in range to damage it, and the only one in range to potentially stop this from happening will be, once again, the two tanks. They're forced off of the Fire Giant, trying to engage on Crow. He does not have his ultimate available for an escape. Until now, comes up just at the right time, able to get into the ground at the very end of that. Still very low, and Horrific may look to finish that one off if he can. Good Riptide will keep him away, though. Neither team has the huge advantage for this Fire Giant after that good zoning from Crow, able to keep them off that objective. So we'll go another round of 5v5.
Yeah, that's just a really good play from Crow. Just potentially sacrificing your own life just to keep Fire Giant from being completed buys time for your carries to respawn and come back for this fight. If you're Purple Panda, that just kind of feels bad. You can't kill Jormungandr, 1 HP, he's allowed to get out. Horrific would have been able to chase down and likely get the kill, but a really good Riptide coming in for peel by Kenny. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that Kali's level 20 now. She hasn't upgraded her start yet, which I would assume is likely going to be a hidden blade. If she goes mace, that can be not as effective, but can definitely still help her. But she's now full build, and she's going to be swinging a lot harder, and she's going to be cutting her sustain now that she has the Toxic Blade online.
This is the Kali that people are afraid of when they see this pick. They are, you know, it's a common thing. Oh, let's get past her in the early game. We have the Thanatos. We'll just run her down. We'll win the game in 20 minutes. That hasn't happened, and Rago's Chicken has hit 20 before Desta the Great on the Thanatos. So she's doing a ton of damage right now. You see that quick poke onto Crow, already taking down 25% of his HP bar just from Kali. No other help needed there. But one of the critical things I'm noticing as we look at the builds here is no spectral armor on the side of the Washed, and despite the rage coming out of Muscle Shark, in addition to that crit buffing ability that he has on that second ability. So maybe a difference there in terms of the damage coming out of this Jingwei in these upcoming fights.
I do think it's a good pickup to go for the Kins, acknowledging that they have a lot of health on the other team. But at the same vein, Khepri Labyrinth doesn't have Spectral Armory either, so Pandas is going to be hitting so hard on this Khepri that consistently has been getting caught out of position. Labyrinth is going to have to be positioning very carefully if he wants to be able to stay alive and have impacts in these fights.
We do see Killcam Kenny start up the Fire Giant, falling a little bit low now, but it looks to me like it might be a bait. Rago's Chicken going to use this opportunity to do some split pushing on the right side. As they do get pushed off the Fire Giant, they may not have been ready to fully engage on that one. And Killcam Kenny once again forced out of position into the Riptide, but still a standoff for these two teams. This fight could break out any second.
It's definitely a unique standoff being on the front and back. We see Horrific actually blinking in and immediately running out. He's seeing the damage and the resources used by Purple Panda, or the Wash.
Forces Desto into the air, and Rago's Chicken takes a little bit of HP, but so does Ud. Forced into the ultimate now, and Aegis isn't enough to save his life. A huge reset for Rago's Chicken, and Bilbo's going to take down Pandas in the rain right after that ultimate as well. Desto in some trouble coming out there, will be stunned by the dash, but it's now Crow in his lane to help his support. And will do some damage there, but able to take down one until he falls towards the end. 4 for 1 in favor of Purple Pandas.
We saw Bilbo dashing in there. He made some aggressive plays and was punished for it earlier this game, but playing aggressively here, knowing that Thanatos' ultimate is down, allows Labyrinth to be more free to use his Khepri revive, so Bilbo can play as aggressive as he wants. He has the Khepri revive, he has that safety net there, and Purple Pandas takes full advantage of that fact to go hard in onto the backline of the Washed as 5. This is exactly what we're looking for as we see Purple Pandas actually pushing for the Titan now.
trying to end the game as the Titan falls a little bit low, down to 50%, and Killcam Kenny also falling low, but now Utch's spawn. Persephone back in the mix, doing some damage. Killcam Kenny will fall, but so will Labyrinth. Titan still low as well. Rama rolling into the damage, but Muscle Shark will fall as well. Titan looking to be finished off here. It's just horrific in the zone right now, and Bilbo will fall as well. The Titan defense coming out from Persephone, and Pandas in the rain on the Rama. Huge damage coming from them to keep them in the game.
That was a really good Titan defense, and maybe a little bit too aggressive of a call by Purple Pandas. I mean, there's still a T2 tower up in solo side. They get the mid Phoenix. Honestly, if I'm them there, unless I know for a fact that we can end the game or CC away whoever's spawning in, well, you just retreat and you get that Fire Giant. You keep that advantage up. Though they did do a lot of damage to the Titan now, and it is exposed. And if you're Rago's Chicken, there is that inkling in the back of your brain that goes, I mean, I can survive for quite a while. Unless they CC me for a decent amount of time, I might be able to just solo this Titan by myself.
Now, and that might be in the mind of several of the members of Purple Pandas, as they do have that avenue down towards that Titan now. The gold tray will be picked up by Rago's Chicken, keeping them at a relatively even gold game right now, and it doesn't look like anybody's really in favor of that at the moment. Gold is kind of fallen off the charts now in terms of mattering at this point in the game, as we'll talk about the builds while we have a lull in the action right here. We do see Kali go that Mannequin's Mace, as you mentioned, and we see Artio and Raijin split up the directions that they go in that Vampiric Shroud. One goes for the Blood Soak Shroud, one goes for that other upgrade. Do you think that they both made the right decisions?
I mean, Blood-Soaked Shroud definitely just keeps you alive longer, and that's definitely the play for the Artio, who's going to be using it just to dive and stay alive. Sacrificial Shroud's good for the damage dealers. Yeah, you're going to put yourself a bit more at risk, but again, you have that Kepri Revive as a bit of a safety net as long as the Thanatos ultimate is taken out in these early fights, as it has been when they've been winning these team fights. So I definitely think those are good looks for both the mid laner and the solo laner here. As we see that Washed is very much dedicating themselves to allowing Purple Pandas to have the rest of the map, but you're not getting in our Titan room right now.
Yeah, they definitely are wary of the back door, and that will inevitably end up giving this Fire Giant away to the side of Purple Pandas. But as opposed to that fight around in the jungle, right? Jungle fights are going to be fundamentally different than these sieges. So they may have won the jungle fight on the side of Purple Pandas. They may have been able to get that pick and come out on top there, but this siege is going to require a bit more discipline.
Barring Yamoja and Persephone, I would say that Purple Pandas actually does have the advantage in these lane or open spaced fights, as Thanatos really needs to use the cover that the jungle gives him to go up into the air without being seen or just gank somebody successfully. And it's a similar thing with Jormungandr. Jormungandr really benefits when he can just jump over walls and hit you and kind of take up a lot of space, where the lanes, there's too much space for him to take up by himself here. So if Purple Pandas plays this right, they're definitely going to have the advantage going into these team fights.
Well, they do have that wave pushing up in the right lane, as well as that fire wave pushing down the mid lane, and that will kill the Titan if nobody pays attention to it. But Desto on wave duty right now, able to join the fight with his ultimate when we get there. Rago's Chicken blinking in on the backline, trying to take the 1v2 at the moment, takes down Desto instantly. Pandas in the rain gets the Aegis forced out, but now forced into the air, trying to take down Rago's Chicken, will do so successfully, but the Phoenix falls in the right side. Muscle Shark still at full HP over on the right, and it might be Bilbo in some trouble right now, using the ultimate for a bit of heal, but it's Muscle Shark doing tons of damage in the backline. Utch now in a little bit of trouble, and Horrific has his number, trying to finish him off, but he'll take a Titan shot and get forced out of there. Muscle Shark gets the fantastic ultimate from the Kepri. They trade kills, but Muscle Shark still on the map thanks to that ultimate, and they'll be a 4v3 for the time being, as this mid Phoenix has now respawned. Titan back up to full HP, but they still have the advantage unless they can take down this Kepri, and they do. A successful defense, it looks like, for the Wash, is none the wiser, right? They've kept the Phoenix alive. They're still in the same position they were, but now with their Titan healthier.
Yeah, they kept dropping the Titan at the start of that fight. I think Rago's Chicken going in and out of the Titan room to finish the Thanatos there. But what riptides from Killcam Kenny there, looking at Labyrinth saying, you are not running. I don't care how long this is going to take for my Jormungandr and Persephone to kill you. You are dying for our Phoenix. and getting those riptides and blocking him in like she's been doing all game long. I'm sure that Purple Pandas, they're right now in console, there's a lull. They're going, all right, if we get to game 3, we can't get, like, I can't deal with this Umoja. She's driving me insane. It's nuts. You can't walk anywhere.
Yeah, she's absolutely having an impact on these fights. That Rivers Rebuke able to hugely keep some members separated over there during that Phoenix siege, but we still see members of Purple Pandas have the advantage. The mid laner and the ADC, notably both having that Fire Giant on the side of Purple Pandas, still in Horrific, able to keep that Fire Giant buff as well. So they still have a few members with this buff, and as a result, I don't expect to see this push stop anytime soon. It's Khepri and Muscle Shark into the mid lane, and 3 members on the left side of the map. As we may see this split up, we may see them join together as well, but right now, it's a 3-2 split. Testo's return to base. Everybody back in base to try and defend this one. As 2 in the mid lane. Now Raijin has joined this one as well, and Horrific coming over as well. So yet another 4-1 split as Ra goes chicken is able to stay over in the left lane. Still wants that 1v1 perhaps that he found against Testo the Great during that last team fight. They are waiting for these waves in the right side to push them.
Yeah, Kali also got that 3K paw on that last back, so she's going to be swinging even harder than she has been. So this is going to be big danger for Desto, getting caught out again, unable to get in the air, and Drago's Chicken gets the pick.
Desto gets taken out once again, not going to have that Thanatos ultimate available, and now Hut in trouble as well. Horrific doing the diving, and he'll try to take him out, but it'll be Rago's Chicken helping him in the backline as well. Horrific does eventually pick that one up, and it's Yorm trying to make an impact in the front line, trying to keep them off of this Phoenix, but he doesn't do so successfully until just now. There's still some damage going down onto the Phoenix, but it's going to be Crow falling soon enough, trying to dodge out those Taiko drums, and he will stay alive for the time being, as several members slow from Purple Pandas. Crow may have done a better job than I gave him credit for, as they still haven't managed to take this Phoenix, but they do finally do so, and it's now Horrific on Pandas in the rain. He was on Hut earlier, and he managed to get that kill, and he'll help his team get that kill on the second carry in the game this time around. 5 members strong still for the side of Purple Pandas, and only 2 members survive for the side of the Watch. This may be an end game play if they want to push for it, but they're going to be a little bit disciplined.
They're all really low. Thanatos about to come up with that execute again. They no longer have the Fire Giant buff for the regeneration capabilities, but even with the threat of execution, they're not backing down, trying to get a trade on Kenny before Desto is able to rotate in and get an execute.
Just in the air, trying to hit Rago's Chicken, but unable to have the range on that one. So no kills able to be picked up on the back end of that fight. But another Phoenix siege not maybe going as successfully as Purple Pandas want. They do get another Phoenix, they do get some more damage on the Titan, and they certainly get their fair share of kills, but still, 2 Phoenixes up for the Washed. Their Titan is not super low. They have a chance to defend this next Fire Giant.
Rago's Chicken is getting a lot of really good entry kills, killing the Thanatos at the start of last siege and the start of this siege. We really need Purple Pandas to start actually focusing and hitting the Phoenix there. Jormungandr delayed for about 10 seconds straight in his ultimate and just dancing around the backline while they were trying so hard to avoid getting hit by the Jormungandr ult. They weren't even hitting the Phoenix. So the Phoenix was alive at about 300 HP, shooting them for that entire time, getting their tanks really, really low. You have to have some type of focus with if you're one of the shot callers on Purple Pandas to yell at your backline to start hitting the Phoenixes to get these objectives down.
We'll see Crow teleport in here, so now 5 member strongs for both sides towards this Fire Giant, and this isn't any regular Fire Giant now, folks. This is the enhanced Fire Giant, a game changer if you're able to get this objective uncontested, but they're not going to let that happen for the time being. Now, just like they did on the sieges, I expect Purple Pandas to take it a little bit slower, let that wave in mid push down, potentially do some damage, but it looks like the Watch want to engage some force. Now Rivers Rebuke out, and Muscle Shark into his ultimate, just barely. Desto not able to confirm that one, and instead he confirms his doom. Rama into the air looking for this final kill onto Labyrinth, very low, and he will get so when it lands. Rago's Chicken able to blink past and into the ultimate as he tries to confirm this kill onto Pandas in the Rain, but Pandas in the Rain turns that one around as well. Horrific able to finally finish it off, but so many kills on both sides, 2 for 3 so far. Muscle Shark now has rejoined the fight though, and might be the one to clean this up. Crow takes the final kill, and it may be Killcam Kenny falling for the next final kill as they try and finish off this member here, and they will successfully with that good knockup. And The Titans already falling low. It may have been a win for the Winions regardless, but they win the fight, so a one on both ends.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like this is going to be a game for Purple Pandas taking the win. They're off of the back end of that team fight. Jingwei just rotated in, backed up after getting poked out at the start of that fight, used her passive to fly back in, and cleaned up the last 2 tanks on the Washed. Really good play by Muscle Shark there to clean up the rest of that fight. And if you're the Washed, this one tastes bad in your mouth because you know that you should have had the advantage there and you should have probably brought this game home. But just too many mistakes for them really allowed Purple Pandas to take advantage and get back in and take the win.
Absolutely. It was really a bad look, I think, from Desto in a couple of those fights, being taken out early, not allowing to use his team. And it feels like they were forced into that Thanatos as opposed to being a comfort pick for Desto. They picked it in as a real response pick to Labyrinth on that Khepri, but it never was able to do that job. It was never able to step in and cancel the Khepri ultimate. It came very, very close in that last fight, but just not able to make that pick work or have a success. And Kali, as opposed to game 1, has a very large impact here in game number 2.
Yeah, I definitely think that the Kali made a really huge impact getting the pick on the Thanatos consistently before the fights even started. And if you're Desto, you are probably looking towards game 3 to get something more on the tankier side, like the Erlong from game 1, just to survive the onslaught of the Kali and potentially be more team fight oriented to help set up for your backline, which is doing a lot of damage, but just needs maybe a little bit more.
Well, we'll see who takes this in game number 3 when we come back right after this break. And welcome back, Smite fans. We're about to go into a game 3 between the Washed and Purple Pandas. Once again, this is the Viking division. Once again, I am Frog, joined by Arjun Surge, and we just saw one hell of a game 2. It felt like game 1, right? The Washed had the lead in the early game, had the lead in the mid game, was able to close it out solidly as we got into the late game. But not the same picture in game number 2. They came around and they were not able to have as clean a fight as we got towards the late game, and Purple Pandas able to turn that one around in game number 2.
Yeah, in game 2, Purple Pandas got off to a pretty decent early lead, looking for invades, getting a few picks, playing aggressively in the enemy jungle, which is a really good look. Mid game started to get messy for them. And then late game, they started to surge back up again. Yaos a bit. They kind of won their game 2, stumbling into the Titan room with limping in there, low HP, but they were still able to find that win. And if you're Purple Pandas, you're hoping that that momentum can carry you through to game 3. And if you're the Washed, the best thing you can try to do is just shake it off and focus on playing the same type of game that you played game 1 and game 2.
Absolutely agree, as we do see the bans start to come out here, and immediately we see the Kali ban from Purple Pandas. Not super well. Wait a second. They were the ones that played the Kali, if I'm not mistaken. They ban it away from themselves.
I think this might be potentially a flipped thing here, where I think maybe it's reverse psychology, where Purple Panda's like, you know what, we'll ban it ourselves so you can't have it, because we definitely, we've shown you that we can play it, so we're doing you a favor.
I think we might actually have good. So we flipped back there. We now have the Washed on the left side of the screen and Purple Pandas on the right side. So the Washed lose a game and they choose to go into that first pick slot. So we may see bans changed around a bit, as they already have, as both the Persephone and the Kali will not be available in game number 2 here. Neither will the Artio, maybe smartly banned away from Purple Pandas.
I really do like Wash's top 3 bans here. Getting rid of the Kali, which shown to be a lot of impact in game 1 and game 2, just having issues dealing with it. They banned out the Persephone and the Cerberus, both really strong picks. I think they were baiting for the Artio, but with Purple Pandas banning the Artio, there's a shoe in for Artemis.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen the Rama in the last 2 games from Pandas in the Rain, and he looked real dominant on it in game number 1 especially. So going to try and reprise that dominance here, picking up the Artemis in that first pick slot. But that opens up Purple Pandas to get this Gilgamesh. Also has been banned in both game 1 and game 2, and now finally allowed through. Could flex into the jungle or the solo role.
Gilgamesh recently saw another very targeted nerf on him, as he's been seeing since release. This time his ultimate getting focused more than anything else, increasing the cooldowns, decreasing the slow. I think this is going to be an interesting pick up to see how effectively they can use it. If Purple Pandas, so specifically Rago's Chicken, has been practicing it, they might look to go take that in the jungle. If they take it in solo, and it is up against, for instance, maybe the Sobek, he might find some struggles. But I really would like to see Purple Pandas use Athena to a greater effect than they did game 1. If they can find these plays across the map, they should be better off.
We did see that pick struggle in game number 1, despite the confident follow-up damage it had from the Scylla on the back end. So we'll see if they go towards a different mid pick here than game 1 from Purple Pandas. But we do see the mid pick come out of the Washed in the form of the Raijin. And we also see this Sobek, as you mentioned, a pick known to flex into the support or the solo role. So I think that does give them a lot of flexibility as they go later down this draft.
Yeah, I think it definitely also fits within Krojiro's wheelhouse with the Sobek here. He's shown a lot of proficiency with characters that can just like get space by their presence and move people around as need be. Sobek definitely fits within that criteria. I also really do actually like the Jingwei pickup in response to that Sobek though, because if that is going to support, the Jingwei immediately has escape out of both two of Sobek's CC4.
Absolutely, as we do see that Jingwei get picked up, same reprising that ADC for Purple Pandas that looked pretty solid in game number 2. But we see both those bans come out from both teams. Same two jungler bans coming out from Purple Pandas, once again taking away that Erlong Shen from Desto, and Morgan Le Fay ban once again, but this time it's the Hell as that second ban. A little bit surprised to see her, as we haven't seen her picked or banned in game 1 or game 2, but we have seen her in other spots in the meta.
Yeah, right now she's can be played in either solo or mid. Purple Panda's not having either of those two confirmed yet. I think that's just generally a good ban to take away that pick from Purple Pandas. Also offers the cleanse for the Artemis Tusky or the Sobek Pluck. In general, I think they're trying to eliminate what Purple Pandas could possibly pick to counter what they've already selected thus far.
And we do see the Giannis hover on the side of Purple Pandas locked in as well. This actually is a little bit surprising to me, considering the mid laners that we've seen from Hutch on the other side, or excuse me, from Bilbo. We saw Scylla in that game 1. We saw Raijin in that game 2. Not picks that I would compare to the play style of Giannis, and especially with someone like an Athena, like a Gilgamesh, who both potentially like to get in there. The Giannis potentially allows them to get in there a little bit easier with that through space and time, increasing utility, allowing them to move across the map a little bit easier.
Yeah, I definitely think that it could be an interesting look for Bilbo, as he seemed to be a bit off put with the positioning that Raijin forced him to go. He made a lot of aggressive plays. Giannis essentially is a magical jungler in the sense that he can just position himself wherever on the map that he wants and plays around these fights on the edges, comes in, throws an ability, portals out, waits for his cooldowns, come back in. But Krojiro, I believe, is going to be on this Kabrakan as he played in game 1. That's going to be a really good look into the Giannis, since you can just Kabrakan all put up walls in front of the Giannis. He can't portal through them, so he's just stuck there and is going to have to suffer whatever consequence that he might reap.
I think we can see Desto may have been a little bit frustrated with the time it takes Thanatos to get up into the air in his ultimate, picking Camazotz this time, who doesn't take any time to get up into the air. So maybe he'll have a little bit more safety there, but it's this Bakasura that brings a little bit more of a surprise to my face, is what a hover this could be potentially. We saw him like the Kali, and the Kali can definitely be, argued for as a solid pick fitting into a draft, and in this particular composition in this particular league, right? I mean, if it's a comfort pick, absolutely have your field day on it, but Bakasura is something that maybe has a very similar play style, but not nearly the same level of safety.
Definitely, and I think that maybe just because the Kali was taken away, they still want him on a hyper carry, and Bakasura does fit that niche in that classification. My concern is actually for Desto here is the Camazotz. What Camazotz does really well is it dives because he cannot be peeled. However, with the Giannis and Jing Wei, both of those backliners can just leave. They can just go up into the air or go through a wall, and Desto can't chase them over walls with his ultimate. So he's just kind of stuck there watching as they run away. So this is going to be really interesting to see how much effect he can have with the Camazotz. Specifically into the Bakasura, who has the cripple field, has the cone autos, and might be able to dive the wash backline more effectively.
Oh, we won't make you wait any longer. Let's jump right into this third game. The Washed versus Purple Pandas, taking us all the way to the final game of this set. Make sure that you know this is week 3, so still a couple weeks after that to fix up their record, reprise their game style if they aren't able to take this one. But right now we're just here focused on this one game, and we can start by taking a look at the builds, as we do see Gilgamesh in that solo lane, I think as we expected after the Bakasura picked up, but something you said may not be the best look when it was picked early on in the draft.
Yeah, with the Gilgamesh continuously getting nerfed, I mean, it's not going to have as much impact in solo as it does in jungle, but specifically into this, Kabrakan's going to be an interesting matchup as we see that he was actually forced to get his 3 to immediately jump away instead of the drop kick that you'd normally see for the extra clear poke CC. So it looks like Horrific's already on the back foot from Krojiro's clear. I just think that the amount of presence and pressure that Kabrakan's going to be putting on Horrific is going to put him in a really tough spot.
Labyrinth may be in a tough spot right now. Plucked back in, but doing damage to Pandas in the rain as well. Has this Artemis, but not able to get as much lane pressure as the Rama he's been a part of in the last 2 games. Not getting through all of the minions in the wave, but Killcam Kenny looking for that pluck, unable to hit it, splits the uprights right there, and he'll take a little bit of poke because of it. But yet again, some brawling in the duo lane, nothing we're not used to after the first 2 games.
I really do like that they kind of balance out the Artemis weak first few levels clear with the Sobek pressure, as we see Raw actually looking for an early level 2 gank on the Bakasor.
Blinking in, doing some damage early on to Pandas in the rain. Does not have the dash that the Rama
Good
had,
trap.
but great trap to save his life for the moment. We'll see a
Good
kill in
body
the mid lane to
blocks.
take the buddy blocks, and right there, Killcam Kenny looking to save his ADC will do so successfully, as the gank in the mid lane is actually more successful for Desto. They'll pick up the first blood there.
Kenny looking for a re-engage.
Finding it, Desto trying to get some damage off as well. He's now come from the mid lane over onto this. It's a 3v3 at the moment. Lower health members on the side of Purple Pandas, waiting for some CC to come through, but they might not need it other than the slow Labyrinth falling for that second kill.
I think that's just Purple Panda staying too long. I mean, if you're thinking about it, they have the 3 versus 2 there. They got them really low, but you can't ignore the healing that comes in with the Sobek and the Camazotz. You can just stay sustain, heal up off of whatever minions or gods are around them, and keep moving forward. Really good job staying alive. Laid a beautiful trap to trap the Rago's chicken, keeping him from continuing to chase, and Kenny managing to slide himself in between himself and Muscle Shark, blocking those autos, allowing for that escape. Overall, the Wash just plays that very good. They see the gank happening in dual lane, get a gank off successfully in mid, which is probably Bilbo just having a lack of wards and a lack of awareness of what is happening with the enemy jungler. Overall, this is just a really good play by the Washed.
Once again, we see the Wash jump out to a little bit of an early lead, about 1,000 gold ahead right now, thanks to those first 2 kills on the board from them. But we've seen this in all 3 games, and we'll see how it continues to push as we don't see any early buff invades, maybe as a result of those timings on the 2 kills. But we still see both supports over here in the dual lane, and once again, I'll be interested to see. We talked about how much of a presence we wanted this Athena to have. Labyrinth playing her in game number 1 did not have the presence we were looking for. The ults weren't super impactful, weren't finding the taunts to find that follow-up continuous damage, and to be honest, maybe not having that damage or not necessarily always being in position to have that continuous follow-up on a pick like Athena may make it even more difficult to have that effect.
I feel like there's 2 methodologies and 2 mindsets when people are playing Athena. It's either I'm going to continuously brawl you and just beat you with my damage, or I'm going to dash in, try to get a taunt, pull you into my teammates' damage, and back out away from my cooldowns again. I think that Labyrinth is trying to go for more of the brawly style, but isn't having the follow-up damage to really be successful, and has ended up being punished for his positioning.
Well, it looks like Rago's chicken trying to make something happen here in the dual lane for the 2nd time, but Killcam Kenny in a good spot to dissuade that from happening. Bilbo's going to secure his red buff as well, but he won't find the kill over in solo lane. That'll be Krojiro. It looks like he trapped Enemy under the tower with those walls and just backed off and let the tower finish the kill. That's got to feel disrespectful.
Yeah, I think Horrific jumped in and tried to ult down Krojiro to finish him off. Krojiro immediately turning, walling him into the tower, and using his 1 to slow immune himself outside of the ultimate. I think that's just a really good play by Krojiro to punish Horrific for his over-aggression. One thing that we touched on game 1 and game 2, just based off the picks that Purple Pandas have, is they really like these globals, and now we have essentially 2.5 globals. I'm including the Jingwei passive as a half global, because you can get almost all the way to lane with it. But the Giannis and the Athena, if they use that effectively and are grouped up, they can pull the Baka and Giannis into a fight while Athena's ulting in and get suddenly 3 people all in on one lane in an instant.
And that takes coordination, something that we have not seen the greatest of from Purple Pandas throughout this set. They've been a little bit messy, especially towards these mid-game team fights. So we'll see if they're able to make that happen as the Fire Scorpion does get picked up. And the Gold Scorpion got picked up a little bit earlier as well, but it's actually going to be a turnaround onto Krojiro. Rago's Chicken maybe biting off a little bit more than he can chew, forcing the Athena ult in right as well. It's going to be a 2v1 right now, but not until Raijin joins the fight. 2v2 so far. Trying to take down both these tanks to a little bit of a low health bar, but it's going to be Desto coming in on the top, and everybody wants to get involved. Great Windsor Shamash is going to bring down 2 members low. Krojiro will be canceled right there with the portal from Giannis, who ports into a wall, taken down very low, but it's going to be Labyrinth falling instead. Krojiro will get traded, but it might be Bilbo finding a portal. Very good timing to get himself out and safe right there, but it's a good blink from Desto to grant him the double kill in that fight.
That's just, I mean, that's just Kabrakan things. You get to the 1v1 onto the Bakasaur, beat him almost to death. They rotate both of their frontliners to peel you away from him. But even while taking 2 people while waiting for your teammates to rotate, the passive there from the Kabrakan keeps him so healthy and so tanky for so long that the Wash is able just to rotate 3 people and clean up the tail end of that fight.
They do take their eyes on that fight, and they do come out on top as a result. But they do get the beads burned on 2 members across the map of the Wash. Artemis beads still down from an engagement a little bit earlier, and Raijin's, his beads falling earlier on right there. And with the Athena now rotating towards the mid lane, trying to make an impact on some of these fights, as she did just there, Raijin might become the target in a couple of these fights, but right now might be Artemis in a little bit of trouble. 2 members coming in behind. That ultimate gets forced out, does get the CC immunity, and he jumps in, wants to finish his kill, and he will successfully. Rago's Chicken doing a great gank onto Pandas in the rain. He wanted to get this Artemis, but that comes with a little bit less safety.
Yeah, no, that was actually a really good Artemis ult, but even better beads by Rago's Chicken to immune this. Actually, he didn't even use it. He just used the CC immunity from his ultimate to block out the Tusky. Maybe if you're a Pandas in the rain, you wait just a second longer to wait out that initial CC immunity from the Baka using his ultimate. Because if she does end up getting that triple stun, Artemis gets out every day of the week. Unfortunately, the time didn't work out. Really good time for Rago's Chicken and using the ultimate.
Yeah, and that primary safety on Artemis is going to come in the form of that ultimate and that trap, which she was able to successfully save herself from last time, as we do find Rago's Chicken now over here in the solo lane, trying to share some farm. But it'll be Krojiro maybe under a little bit of trouble if he chooses to overstay and not respect the damage, but it looks like that won't be what he'll do, is he's just trading, yeah, having a little bit of fun over here in the solo lane. Damage will come out from both sides, but ultimately I doubt any kills to be exchanged. But now with Desto, that might change. Horrific forced to jump out. Bilbo and Kenny also want to join the fight, and Athena ulting in as well. Suddenly 4 members are on this side of the map, and see if an engagement comes out here, but it may have been just that one ult expended for nothing in return.
I feel like Krojiro is quickly reaching peak solo mentality as we see Bilbo getting blinked on by the Sobek and getting plucked into a very dangerous position.
Oh no! He does get taunted away. Fantastic taunt from Athena is going to allow him to enter his portal there, but he ults right back into the mid lane instead of a little bit farther away, and Noah 2 will fall from the side of Purple Pandas. Hutch taking out 2 members right there for the double kill, and Artemis winning a trade over in the left lane as well, able to steal that purple buff. Just wins across the board for the Wash.
If you're Bilbo there, I understand the desire to try to help out with your team by throwing your ultimate back into mid to deal some damage, but you're 1 HP, there's a Camazotz in the air hovering over you, you just need to turn and ult to far away from that fight, because even if Desto wasn't able to hunt him down, he still put himself back into the mid lane into certain death, whereas if he turned around and ulted maybe through the Gold Fury Oracle wall, he could have found an escape route there.
Definitely could have survived if he didn't want to help his team, but he ends up losing his life, and another member of his team loses theirs. So 2 more kills fall towards the Wash, and it might go 1 more kill towards Purple Pandas if they're able to take down Pandas in the rain here, but his beads are back up at this point in the game, and so he's able to escape from that taunt. But yet another back opportunity as he's going to get poked yet again, but able to back off, finally gets to back off, and the Gold Fury is not something we've gotten a chance to talk about quite yet in this match, but it seems to be the next target. We've yet to have a huge 4-on-4, a huge 5-on-5 engagement, but now that Krojiro is over on this left side of the map, we may see that happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and Purple Pandas have made a very good adjustment to the past 2 games by starting to focus down on Pandas in the rain, try to keep him down. So we see Bilbo getting caught out of position yet again and picked off by the mid and jungler by the Washed, and now Athena's also in trouble.
That's the second time he's been able to be engaged on, and Labyrinth may fall for his first death, or third death, excuse me, in this game as well. Both a little bit too far forward and going to end up giving up that Gold Fury for free as a result. And this is what I was talking about when they looked at the Giannis during the picks and bans phase. I mean, it's a little bit of a different pick when it comes to traditional safety or how you want to play around your positioning on the map, and he's been caught out 2 times because of it, really forcing his team into some bad spots.
Yeah, we did see that the Pyromancer did end up going down for Purple Pandas, so it's something to glean off of the Washed, essentially steamrolling the rest of the team on the other side of the map. One thing I also want to point out is Pandas in the Rain decides to go against the grain here with his build, going with the Devo's Gauntlet instead of the Ichavolt, which is the main starting item for a lot of ADCs. It's going to take a bit to get that power online, but overall, I do think it's a really interesting choice, especially if you're going for crits, because if you're going for the Ichavolt, most of the time you end up getting Silver Branch and going to more of the bow build, but if you're trying to be determined with the crit build, I think Devos could find a decent place there.
Absolutely, as he chooses to go into that stacking item and has had some success so far. Still the same level as Muscle Shark, as they will take down this Draugr right here in the left lane, but neither Hunter going in towards crit just yet. We may see that in the next item up for grabs as both supports return to the duel lane. But we'll use this a little take a chance to look at the builds, as I think the first thing that catches my eye is some aggression coming out of Cabrera's hybrid item, Jade Emperor's Crown, coming out first.
A lot of Guardians are going one of those, that hybrid tree for their first items. Just offers some protection along with some damage and a very helpful passive specifically for solo laners. And as we've seen in this lane so far, it's been very effective at getting him that control and keeping him safe against the Gilgamesh damage. We actually see a gank going on the Gilgamesh as we speak.
Desto blinking in, Kabrakanalt forced out and Pingstone into the wall, and now the Rago's Chicken forcing them into the ultimate, not on the mark with the through space and time. Rago's Chicken still wants to continue, not going to find the kill, instead losing his life instead, but it will be Artemis falling across the map. So far a 1-for-1 across that map, and Bilbo may be in some trouble here as well. Finally finds
Really
the portal, but not in time. That's the second double kill coming out of Hutch this game, and his rotations have been so far really on point, and his impact in these fights has been high compared to this Giannis, who that's his 5th death this game.
That was really, really good patience from Killcam Kenny there. Knowing that he could try to get the pluck through the minion wave, but understanding that those can block him very easily, he waited to see to where Bilbo would try to run to. As soon as the portal came out and that cooldown was starting to tick down, Killcam Kenny then went for the pluck, threw him into his team, and confirmed the kill, and denying the escape from Bilbo. I do want to point out as well, though, the Camazot's build is double mace, so double flat pen, along with the mannequins, and now likely going to be a void shield. He's hitting very hard with his burst damage, and though he didn't go Transcendence, he has a lot of power very early on.
Yeah, 3-0-7 scoreline to start him off. Desto looks like he's recreating his first game on the Erlong Shen. May have struggled a little bit in the Thanatos game from game number 2, but showing that does not affect his mental, bouncing back well here in game number 3. So we have seen him get off to a good start, and that double flat pen tells me he's going to be really focusing on these carries, and I think that's the right decision to be made if you're the Camazons in this spot. But now we're going to see him in a fight with the tanks. Gilgamesh and Athena both over here, and Rago's Chicken focused on the blue buff. Going to be able to steal it, wants to back off, but his team is engaged right here, and he's going to force himself in, but might not be on the same page. Ra goes in as well. Giannis getting a good damage right there and finishing off a kill, and it might be Desto now on to more damage on Horrific, but the Xenothaunt takes him off for right now. No members falling other than those 2 so far. The Labyrinth gets plucked back in, going to take a lot more damage. as he tries to find an area for the taunt, holding that taunt for so long, or holding that dash for so long, it's going to allow him to escape just until the Raijin dash comes back up off cooldown, and it's a 2-for-1 overall.
Utch used his Mez part of his dash very effectively there, interrupting the dash once when she first tried to leave, and then the second time just to allow his teammates to catch up. But one thing I also kind of confused by is Labyrinth's insistence on going this first Relic Shell. He's done it all 3 games now, and I haven't really seen much impact on it. Yeah, Shell was really big when it had the block stacks, and actually we see the Jingwei ult being forced down the duo side. But going this Relic over something like Bracer or Blink on the Athena, I feel like just offers less to your team than any other Relic you could possibly go.
Yeah, I was a little bit confused by that as well, as he hasn't been able to make the best use of it, but we won't see that in contention now as the Primal Fury gets picked up right off respawn from the Watts, and they're shredding this objective. Nobody in the area for Purple Pandas, or maybe they knew it was happening and they elected to not defend it, but either way, not in position to contest that objective, and it will go just cleanly to the Washed.
I think that's mostly just a ward coverage thing. Is if you look on the map, almost the entirety of gold side is covered by blue wards, only a few in the junctions from mid and duo side, as they're now, again, with a lack of ward coverage, able to rotate over to the Pyromancer to start a fight here.
Horrific gets plucked back in, some damage being traded onto him, and it's Crow in the front line doing the same. Pyromancer fell to about half health, but looks like they're going to drop it right for now and wait for Artemis to join the fight. It's Jingwei unable to be here for right now. Artemis is going to be here early, and Horrific plucked back in once again. Great CC chain. Great CC chain, taking him down to very low, and he'll be finished off as well. That Mez from Raijin being used to perfection to take down Horrific.
That's always what feels bad whenever you're playing a you see the animation go off, you're off the ground, and suddenly you're ripped back down to earth off of any CC that comes in. Now here, they also are now forcing for the Fire Giant, knowing that Giannis does not have the ult to try to contest, and Jingwei's on the other side of the map. This looks to be pretty free for them.
Labyrinth counting in, trying to take the members off the Fire Giant, focus on him, and they'll do that for just a second, but he'll fall, and they'll go right back onto the Fire Giant outside of the rest of the team, forcing out another member. They do get off it for right now, a little bit too low to feel comfortable doing that, so I was going to say Labyrinth may have given his life up for nothing, but it turns out he does make a successful attempt of stopping their Fire Giant play.
Yeah, Kenny ended up leaving the Fire Giant pit to help out with CC outside of the fight, while Labyrinth was in with Pandas and Utch, and that honestly it ended up hurting them pretty bad, as Pandas almost dies to Fire Giant after getting the kill on the Athena. Utch unable to tank that as well, and forcing them off the Fire Giant play. So maybe if you're Kenny there, that might be a conversation of, okay, are we letting the Camazotz and Bracken focus on zoning while you have to stay there and tank, or do our carriers just need to do better at dropping the objective and fighting with them?
Regardless, looked like people were on different pages there during that Fire Giant siege, and we only hope that doesn't continue to happen the later we go into this game. Rago's Chicken jumping in onto Crow, trying to maybe get some damage off here, but Crow's more than happy to take this one as a fight of his own, trying to chase back now. But I think Rago's Chicken needs to do a little bit of a better job in these fights, finding and choosing his engagements. It seemed to me that in a couple fights he has made choices that, like, almost as if he's playing as if he has the Kali ultimate to keep him alive in those bad spots, but he needs to be a bit smarter on these engagements.
I was seeing the exact same thing as you were saying, that guy, he's playing very aggressive and not really wanting to back off, trying to finish off whoever he's attacking. And without the reset or the Kali ult, you're just going to die on the Bakasur. So maybe there needs to be a slight adjustment played where he needs to get a bit of a leash on and pull back when need be.
Dokkan Kenny does expend the lurking in the waters there, trying to start something, but it's now Crow on the back foot. Good taunt away to allow Ra to get out, and some damage being exchanged on him as well, but it's Horrific. Forced into the ultimate and forced back to base as he gets shut down right there. Desto picking up that one, and it might be Rago's Chicken in a little bit of a rough spot right here as well. Killcam waiting for that pluck. Gonna grab it onto Labyrinth. Some damage being traded. Immediately forced into the ultimate, but taken down too fast. Too Double kill for Desto the Great, and still has that ultimate available if he wants to dive this Phoenix. And Artemis has been split pushing this whole time. They've won this 4v4 successfully over in the right lane, and now it's a 4v3 as they turn around and look back towards the Fire Giant, although I'm not sure they'll be able to take it until Artemis gets here.
Yeah, that is just rough to lose that essentially 4v4 or 5v4 if you're Purple Pandas, having the Artemis continue to split push. But that just goes to show just how much control the Washed has over these team fights, as Bilbo was getting called out again.
Yeah, forced into the portal there, but I was right. They weren't able to take that Fire Giant, but it might not be Rago's Chicken trying to take the life of the ADC right there, and a fantastic through space and time hits some members, but not enough to save his jungler. Desto getting yet another kill in this fight, forced into the ultimate, and Muscle Shark gets trapped into that ultimate. Hutch gets another kill, and it might be Labyrinth in more trouble yet again, falling in the right lane, falling here in the mid lane, and Bilbo just used his portal aggressively, may be the target in this next engagement, but everybody choosing to back up, and it seems to me like Purple Pandas are just going in one by one here.
Yeah, and Hutch, again, is using that dash really effectively for CC and for damage. And that's the one thing that you can tell when people are comfortable on Raijin, they dash in almost constantly. That is just a part of the kit, part of the mechanics to playing the Raijin there. And seeing him do that is just going to show just how comfortable the Washed is currently in this game. Camazotz, we were talking at the start of the picks and bans about how we were unsure on how well he would be able to dive with the escapability of Muscle Shark and Bilbo on their respective picks. But Krojiro's helping him out quite a lot. In most of these fights, they've been using their ultimates in unison where Krojiro's box someone's in and go, hey, they can't run, just hit them now. And Desto's been taking that as much as possible.
Yeah, 7-0 and 11 now on Desto, having a serious impact in these fights, almost at 100% kill participation at this point in the game. And now they have the Fire Giant 22 minutes into the game. This Oni Fury is available. I expect to see them pick that one up and play similarly to how they did in game number 1, but hold that thought. Rago's Chicken jumps over the wall, maybe not prepared. He gets his ultimate forced out in a place where he didn't really want to.
Yeah, this is just Purple Pandas just walking recklessly into the jungle. If you look, Purple Pandas has almost 0 wards on the map, 1 sentry up by their green buff, but otherwise the entire map is scattered with blue wards, and that just is just the Washed having this control over the map right now, and they aren't afraid to look at somebody who steps just too far out of place to walk at, and they're going to keep forcing these resources unless Purple Panda is able to manage to get out without wasting any resources or just overall manage to position better before these fights. They're going to keep coming into these team fights down.
Well, all 5 members here on the left side of the map looks like they may have wanted to push that Phoenix down, but going to choose to take the mid-tier 2 tower instead. And they're definitely in a good position to force this down if they wanted to. They've got these Oni waves pushing up in all 3 lanes. And if they play discipline, they wait for their opportunities. There's some potential for those waves to take a Phoenix without them even trying. Good poke through the wall coming out of the unstable vortex, but not enough to dissuade them just yet. It looks like these Oni waves coming up now in the left lane may be the engage point for the side of the Washed.
Yeah, if you're Purple Pandas, what you want to do is use Horrific's ultimate to the Gilgamesh ult to delay the Phoenix push here. As soon as this initiation starts, separate the fight like you would as Umoja, but based on how far back he's playing, that's not happening as he begins Siege.
They didn't even want to defend that one. That Phoenix went down without any fight whatsoever as Bilbo found himself in the backline with no help whatsoever. Rago's Chicken not able to join him, but almost able to join the Grave. Very low health bars out of all members there. All the carries at least, as they now are looking towards the middle Phoenix. Jingwei forced down in the way and right into Crow as he is now in the middle of 4 members, but not falling low at all. Just taking his time, making members low, giving his team some space to take down Horrific as he will be the next one to fall, and he'll peck that one up for good measure. And it's now once again Bilbo behind enemy lines, putting himself in these awkward positions as if he wants to make a play, but they know that he's there. Hutch gonna play a little bit careful. Waiting for him around the corner is Crow, and they're able to clean that up as well. Looks like someone wants to get engaged on the backline as well. Labyrinth will be the next one trying to fall, and he will fall to the Great as he gets a double kill in that fight, and it's Muscle Shark falling to Pandas in the rain, and that'll secure game number 3, the Wash taking this set.
That was just really good positioning by Uch there. Yeah, he dies, but he baits himself and baits the reinitiation on Purple Pandas because he knows that his team's going to wipe them if they do step in, and step in they do. Really solid play, just a complete map control by the Washed. Really solid wards. Overall, great patience on everyone and really great discipline was shown here.
We do see the Washed pick up this set in a 3-game fashion, looking very clean in that game 3, and especially in game 1. And I think we see positive things, though, from both teams here as they try to move towards the rest of this league, right? Remember, it's only week number 3, so a lot of time for both of these teams to be refining these strategies. But I think one thing I'm still finding myself trying to wrap my head around is this priority that's being placed around the Athena. 0-8 in this game number 3, still not the effect that maybe you're looking for out of a first pick.
I think it was a mixture of both the positioning that Labyrinth had in a lot of these team fights and the picks that she was being paired up with. This game had 0 burst damage to follow up off the taunts. Muscle Shark, for the most part, was running for their lives. There are a lot of these fights. Bilbo was getting caught up before fights had even start or was low HP the entire time. So having the Athena specifically in this game led to 0 benefit for them. And if you're not using those globals to move your team across the map or get to a fight to make an impact, you're going to feel next to useless.
Well, that'll do it for us on the cast. It's been Frog and it's been Argent Surge, and we want to make sure we thank our desk representatives, Frog and Argent Surge, for their great analysis early on in the cast as well. But we're not done for the day quite yet. Make sure you stick around after this break. We're going to have Alabama Crimson and AMM White facing off in our collegiate series. So stick around and we'll see you in a bit.